Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for finally the end of this bloody international break. My God, I hate international break. Thanks God there was like some women's football going on to entertain ourselves a little bit. Big up the Chelsea women, by the way, for making it through to the Champions League semi-finals, where they will now take on Barcelona after one of their craziest comebacks in late, extra time drama that I can remember in any sort of whichever Chender's Champions League you're talking about. That was mental. What, in the 128th minute, we equalized to a 2-2, and then we won on penalties. My God, but fair play to the girls. Fair play to the girls. Hopefully, they can go all the way, unlike in 2020. But there is also a lot to talk about when it comes to Chelsea. New stadium talk has resurfaced again all of a sudden. We need to discuss that. N'golo Kante is actually back. I know he was on the bench last time, but Potter has basically confirmed that he will feature tomorrow. So he's actually back. What great news. What great news. Kai Havertz being misquoted by Fabrizio Romano, of all people. Who would have thought that would happen? Thomas Tuchel has also spoke on his sacking by Chelsea. We will get into those comments for a little bit as well. And, of course, plenty of other bits and bobs to discuss in terms of good injury news, bad injury news, a lot to get through. And a big game tomorrow. A big game ahead of a big month. Because what is it, Pice? 9 games this month, I think. Is a crazy month, and we're playing Liverpool. We're playing, obviously, Real Madrid, potentially Bayern Munich after that. It's just big game after big game this month, and I guess we started off with Aston Villa, which isn't the biggest game of them all, but it's a start to a tough month, and the better the start, the easier the rest goes. No. Sorry, Pice, I didn't make it quite clear enough. Maybe.
All right. Yeah, no, good to be back on. Yeah, it is nine games next month. Just check the date. I thought it was this month, but it's the 31st today, so it's still next month. But yeah, it's going to be crazy. I think we've got Villa tomorrow, and then like Liverpool's on like Tuesday, so it's a really quick turnaround. And I mean, we're 10th or whatever in the league, but I think this is what fans, we want. We want these back-to-back games. We want, talking points, discussion points. We want to see which players are doing well. Like, we just want to see Chelsea play, no matter the position. And I think the big thing between now and the end of the season is, can we see clear progression? Like, can we see some consistency? Like, can we see some progression? With everything, management, subs, like players. Like, I just hope we see a bit of, consistency, because I think even with those 3 wins we had, like, Leeds one was 1-0. Dortmund was amazing, but Leicester was pretty good as well, but like, there's still people doubting, I think, and rightly so. So I think this, I keep saying this month, next month, pretty much this month is going to be a really big time, I think, because it's only, April, then May, and, you think we've got Arsenal in there as well. So there's some big games. There's some big games coming up, and obviously the Champions League. So we're going to need the full squad, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I won't feel like that tomorrow if we draw or lose, but I'm looking forward to it, because the international break is just long, man. No one wants to watch England or wherever country you're from, unless you're from like Brazil or something. So, yeah.
But even for those guys, like, unless I think it almost goes for almost every country that at the beginning of a qualifiers, and when it's not a tournament, like, no one cares. Sure, a country like Austria or Scotland or whatever, by the end of a qualifiers, we might be quite hyped about it if there is a chance we qualify, because for us, that's not a common thing. Now, for the Euros, it is, but when we're talking World Cup. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone cares about games outside of the big tournaments, especially when we've just come out of one of the best World Cups that any of us can remember, and then I go to see, not in person, but still Austria against Estonia, and watch us nearly not beat them. Flip's sake, mate. So thank God this is back. But like you say, Pice, maybe after tomorrow we won't be as excited for it anymore. I know you spoke about the league table. I don't know about you, Charlie, but when we're like 10th, I did the same in like 2015, 16. I just don't even look at the league table. Now, every now and again, someone on Twitter talks about where we are in the league, but I have no idea. I just refuse to look at the league table while we are where we are. I don't know if you see it that way as well. But you excited for this month? Are you nervous for this month ahead? Because this month could put us all into a much better mood in terms of even going into future seasons, or next season to be more specific. But it could also just put even more of a down on it, especially if it's like just mediocre. Because if it's real bad, maybe we will change the manager. But if it's like so-so, but we lose to Madrid, but like we do okay here and there, then it's just a load of more nothingness. And we've been stuck in a load of nothingness since the World Cup, really.
Yeah, no, mate, I think look at this month coming up. 9 games. I think it's actually going to be 8 because the United one's going to be rescheduled because that's the Cup semi-final weekend, and obviously they're in it against Brighton, so that'll move to a midweek somewhere. I guess maybe in May. I don't know if you can fit it in April, but so that's one less, which I suppose gives us a bit of time off and a free weekend towards the end of April. But yeah, it's a massive test for the boys. It's the kind of thing that as a player, as a fan, you should look forward to. Lots of games coming thick and fast, big opposition, big teams. You should be thriving off it. But we have struggled in terms of beating teams this season, particularly big sides as well. Not done well against them, not done well against Arsenal, haven't done well against City, Liverpool. Then we've got massive games coming up. Big test for Graham Potter as well. I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say that this run in, obviously April and then kind of the May, the rest of the season, this is kind of make or break for Potter because it can go a long way to determining how we're gonna, what football we're going to be playing next season in Europe, if any at all. And in terms of just a bit of a feel-good factor around the place, can we kind of push on and show that something is developing here? And we need wins against big opposition. It's as simple as that, because in theory, you look at it, this is probably our easiest game of the month, this one at home to Villa. We go to Wolves away, which is, I know they're struggling down the bottom, but towards the end of the season, it's never easy to go away to teams that are fighting for their lives. It comes a few days before the first game in the Bernabeu. So, this is the easiest game we've got really this month. 2 Madrid games, City, no, maybe not City, Arsenal, Brighton, Brentford at home. This is we need to win this game because it don't get any easier going in. So for Potter, it's a massive test. For the players, it's a massive test. And I think it's a massive test for kind of the fans as well in terms of how Graham Potter is going to be viewed. I even if we were to lose a lot of games, I still don't think he would be sacked because we're so close to the end of the season now. What difference does it kind of make? But
they might sack him in the summer then.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure. So he's just because we're unbeaten in 4 games, we can't just forget about the run we've been on. We're not kind of out the woods yet. The pressure's very much still on him. I'm sure he's aware of that. So
we're still 10th.
Still 10th. So excited for sure because as a fan, you look forward to seeing lots of games coming up, but kind of a bit pessimistic about it as well, just given how we've been playing this season. But hopefully, I guess almost the break maybe came at the wrong time for us a little bit, just as we were starting to put a bit of a run together. I know the performances weren't amazing, but we did win 3 wins and a draw.
We got some injuries back because of the international break now, though, where we would have missed some
of course. But you just kind of worry a little bit. How are we going to pick up? Are we going to pick up where we left off, or are we going to kind of be starting again? So excited, mate. But it could go one or two ways. Could be a depressing month, or could be a real turner for us.
Exactly. I mean, I've got a couple of stats for you guys before I take it to Dharmesh. I'll start with post-March international break results. 2 seasons ago, we lost 5-2 to West Brom. Last season, we lost 4-1 to Brentford. So we don't exactly do well in this first game back after the March international break. So hopefully that goes a little bit differently on the Potter than it did at the Tuchel, unfortunately. And one other bad downer. Not only are we playing Aston Villa tomorrow, as if that wasn't enough of a downer already, it's a bloody mid-table 6-pointer. We are literally level on points with Aston Villa. We're only ahead of them on goal difference. And not because we have a good goal difference like plus 20 or like Arsenal and Man City plus 40. No, we have a goal difference of plus 1 compared to Aston Villa's minus 4. So that's brilliant. But a more positive note, I think that stat is still correct. We haven't beaten a team that was in the top half of the table all season. Good thing, Villa are 11th, so we might win tomorrow. So, there's always light at the horizon. Do you know what I mean? Dharmesh, how do you feel about tomorrow's game? And then we'll take it into the stadium discussion after that as well.
Yeah, big up, Laurenz. Good to have, good to be on the channel again, actually, bro. It's been a while, man. But yeah, I can't lie, I'm shitting it for tomorrow, man. Like Villa have been really, really good since Emery's coming, man. And I think from when you took over from Gerrard and stuff, I think they were like 17th, 18th in the table, and now they've risen up. Like they're pretty much like guaranteed to stay up as well. So yeah, I think for them it's about sort of pushing for next season and stuff for those European places. And like just look at the table, like you said, bro. Like it's a guaranteed 6-pointer. If we don't win tomorrow, bro, we can literally drop down to 11th, and then that's just piling more pressure onto Potter. And like the boys said about them running in April as well, like Charlie said, it doesn't get easier for us like throughout the month as well. I know Wolves are technically bottom, like below Villa and stuff, but going to their ground, I don't think we've won there in a long time. So yeah, it's going to be a really, really tough month for us, but it's going to be literally make or break for Potter as well. This sort of month, it's a month to prove himself as the manager, try and turn a lot of heads like for him and stuff in terms of wanting the manager in. But at the same time, it's gonna if we don't end up winning any games, then surely this is the end of Graham Potter. Honestly, bro, like I won't put it past us to not win any of the games, even tomorrow. But yeah, regarding tomorrow, bro, I'm absolutely just breaking it for tomorrow. Villa, I think they're a team. I think they're a team that we should be cautious with at the same time and show a bit of respect. To be honest, I know we're Chelsea, but look what Everton sort of did to us, bro. I know obviously we threw away those goals, but a better team like Villa, bro, they could easily come to the bridge and get 3 points off us. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
They could. I'm just looking for an email here, which I was supposed to have, but I don't. So that's fun. You were talking about Aston Villa's run. Well, they're actually kind of on the same run as we are, with the last 4 games being 3 wins and 1 draw. Not in the same order, but they did beat Bournemouth 3-0, got a 1-0 draw against West Ham, which isn't that great. Scraped a 1-0 against Palace and beat Everton 2-0 at Goodison. Now, before that, they lost to Arsenal, they lost to City, and they lost to Leicester. So it's kind of in and out. I still feel like we should be better, but, who knows? Let's talk about this new stadium situation.
So, wait, just real quickly on Villa, I think I seen the other day that since Emery's come in, only Arsenal have taken more points in the league than Villa.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So he's doing a good job there, and like even in October up at Villa Park, like I know he won 2-0, and it was towards the end of Gerrard's reign, but they still played pretty well. We were quite lucky in that game. One mistake by Mings in the first 5 or so minutes, and then we had a Mount free kick. But Villa were knocking on the door big time. So it's going to be a tough game.
It will be. It will be a tough game, absolutely. I mean, we make most games a tough game, really, if we're being totally honest. But yeah, let's take it into this new stadium conversation. Now, I'm not quite sure how much to make of it. I mean, maybe Pice can help us out with that. I'm not really sure where it all of a sudden came from, because as far as I remember, when there was obviously talk about Bowley taking over, and then Bowley eventually did take over the club, obviously from Abramovich last summer or last spring, it was always said, yeah, no, we're not going to move from Stamford Bridge, blah, blah, blah. And then there was talk about, yeah, are we going to redevelop it stand by stand, or are we going to do what we had already planned in 2015, where we take the whole thing down, build a whole new thing in the same spot, but we have to play it elsewhere for like 4 or 5 years or whatever. And a couple of weeks ago, there was talks about all sorts of places that we apparently inquired about potentially playing there, sharing Craven Cottage with Fulham for certain games, and then playing our tier 8 games with the top 6 clubs in the league and big Champions League games, like at Twickenham or something. There was apparently talk that we asked West Ham about London Stadium's availability and all sorts. And then out of nowhere, it came that we apparently want to build a new stadium at Earl's Court. Now, some people watching might not be as familiar with London's geography to know where Earl's Court is. But it's basically like a 10, 15, 20-minute walk, depending on how fast you walk, from Stamford Bridge. So it's not like we'd be moving fast if this were to be true. And as you can see on screen, this is where supposedly all this amount of spaces, presumably, would just make these rail tracks on the ground and we'd put the stadium on top of it. It's what I assume, but don't quote me on that either. But yeah, I mean, Pice, number one, do you know where exactly this story came from? And I will bring up another statement from Earl's Court Development something in a minute, who have kind of denied any of this happening. So now I understand even less. But obviously, just to make it a little bit more clearer for people, the Chelsea pitch owners are a thing, I guess, are an organization that own Stamford Bridge itself, protecting Chelsea from any owner just willy-nilly just trying to move the bridge. That was also a stumbling block, a major stumbling block on I think more than one occasion for Robert Abramovich, who tried to do that, and he tried to pay the Chelsea pitch owners out of the whole thing, but they refused, and this and that. So where are we at, Pice? And also, along with that, what is your opinion on the whole thing?
Well, first off, for anyone who doesn't understand where this came from, so there was a fan forum meeting. There's certain fans on this forum. They get to meet with sometimes the owners, but usually representatives of the owners, I believe. And they discuss a number of things every fan forum meeting. you know, from the stadium to ticket prices to players to online, like any like issues or anything like that. Like if there's any upgrades to the stadium or any suggestions, it's basically like a feedback meeting almost, and they just discuss things. So I believe this was discussed in terms of the owners or whoever spoke to the fans forum, the fans at the who met the representatives said that they were looking at either Earls Court or obviously rebuilding Stamford Bridge. And like a further decision would be made later on in 2023. But it's kind of strange because I understood that Chelsea bid for a piece of land which was next to Stamford Bridge for like 50 million, which they planned to use for.
I thought we also thought that we would get that a few weeks ago or months ago at this point.
I don't think it's been decided yet, but
it still hasn't been decided. Okay.
No, not yet. I don't think. But yeah, apparently we bid for it. That's what I understood anyway. So it's a bit confusing, but it led to.
You know.
It led to a lot of debate online. I think there was some anti-Earls Court protester group or something which said, "Oh, you know, we must stay at Stamford Bridge. If they dare move us, you know, from our historic ground, you know, there'll be riots and all that." And so that went around on Twitter, and then it just led to like this mass overall debate essentially. And yeah, I mean, personally, I don't see, I mean, it would be sad to move, but I don't see a massive issue with building a new stadium because I think, like, it's literally down the road. I mean, I've walked from Earls Court to Stamford Bridge loads.
And I think pretty much every Chelsea fan that's been to Stamford Bridge has, because, there's, every now and again there's a district line strike and you can't.
It's literally a 10-minute walk from Stamford Bridge, vice versa, and I think it's like 2 less stops on the tube if you do that. So. I mean, it's a very popular venue as well. It's always busy. So if we could build a new stadium there, I think that would be really sick, to be honest. And then, we could actually, I think the biggest thing for me is that would actually allow us then to play for however many years it takes at Stamford Bridge. So you'd have those remaining years playing at Stamford Bridge, just like we are now, while they build a new stadium. Kind of like how Everton are doing. They've built a new stadium and they're still playing at Goodison Park right now. So, like, I think that's the ideal situation. I don't want to be away from Stamford Bridge for 4, 5, 6, however many years it's going to take. Like, it'd be horrible. Like some of the venues we're saying, like Wembley, great ground, but it's pretty soulless at times. You can't really get an atmosphere going in there. Even cup finals I went to, you really struggle with. Honestly, it's underestimated how hard it is to get an atmosphere going in there. And you obviously
presuming that it would be like it was when Spurs used Wembley as their home stadium, you wouldn't even be allowed to use all 3 tiers every game. So you'd have a half-empty looking stadium every week, which, even if you could generate a good atmosphere, because obviously you're comparing a cup final, you have 50-50 sets of fans. Well, 30%, and then 30% corporate. So, like, I guess if it was your full home stadium, the atmosphere part would probably be a bit easier, I assume. But then again, I don't know. But the fact that the whole upper tier would be empty for most of those games, that would be the most annoying part, I think. Outside of the fact how far it is from where we usually play.
Another one has been suggested, which is Twickenham. But again, the rugby, union and everything, whoever's in charge of that, Charlie,
why would they say yes now? So.
Yeah, Charlie would probably know more than me about rugby, but apparently they don't want football matches played there. And you've obviously got the issue, even if we did, changing it from rugby to football pitch all the time with the markings and stuff.
Be
and then
awful pitch, by the way, if they play rugby on that regularly.
Yeah, I mean, London Stadium, like, don't take the piss. That's just a soulless shithole. I hate that stadium. And Craven Cottage,
as far away from the bridge as you can get as well.
Craven Cottage is literally like 22,000 fans. So that wouldn't work. So I literally don't see any other. Like, for me, we either build this, move to Wembley, or we build in Earls Court. I think that's what's going to happen. But I don't think we're going to end up in Earls Court because, 1, Earls Court people have said it's not happening, and 2, I just think Bowley will listen to the fans and stay at Stamford Bridge.
But that's the next big question, though. Obviously, like you've touched on, there's no to Earls Court protest movement, whatever you want to call it. And obviously, this is a somewhat limited bubble. But when I've been on Twitter over the last few days, almost, I'm not saying every, but almost everyone I've seen talk about this. And also, in terms of when you see how many likes do what kind of posts have, it seems like the majority of people, at least that I've seen on Twitter, seem to, if anything, be in favour of moving to Earl's Court rather than not doing that. Because I think the main problem is that in an ideal world, we'd probably love to expand the way Liverpool did in terms of expanding it a little bit stand by stand, maybe like one stand a summer, and then you never even have like the crazy construction works going on, and you can just do your thing. But because that seems to, with the lack of space that we have, just not be possible. I'm a little bit in a corner of pies where I'm like, well, I mean, my one additional kind of, condition would be don't sell Stamford Bridge. Obviously they could say, but then we need to buy all this land at Earl's Court, and if we're not going to use Stamford Bridge, sell it, and then they're probably going to make bloody office buildings and apartment buildings out of it, which that's really what I don't want. What I would then just prefer, if we can't expand the stadium where it is, none of us want to play elsewhere for 5, 6, or 4 or 5 years. Build a new stadium elsewhere. Like Pice said, play at Stamford Bridge until then. And when we're done and we move into this new stadium, give the women's team Stamford Bridge. That way, in my head, the Chelsea Football Club, to some extent, still remains at Stamford Bridge. I know the men's team won't play there, but still, it remains there. Now, a lot of people will say, look at the women's game yesterday, and even though it was a huge Champions League game, it was not even half sold out. I get that. But think about how long it would take to build that new stadium. We would have to buy the whole thing at Earl's Court first. Again, it's probably unlikely for it to be that anyway. But we'd have to buy that in the first place. Then we'd have to get building permissions, and then build the whole thing. It's going to take years, like 3-4 years probably. By then, who knows how much women's football would have grown? And ticket prices being a lot cheaper than they are for men's games, I wouldn't be surprised if the women's team in the next 3-4 years would be able to fill Stamford Bridge to like 30,000 most weeks. And from that point on, it's going to be like worth it in terms of financially. So I think that is kind of the best of both worlds. You would get a new stadium, a new bigger capacity, therefore more revenue for the club. Us not kind of falling behind the other big clubs in Europe, but also us not completely losing the identity and letting go of Stamford Bridge if it's still there. Because I do understand everyone, even if I'm not from England, I don't get to go to the bridge every week. So I'm not a CPO, because I would find it, even though I think I could be, I find it silly to be one. I don't even flip and live there. Why should I be a Chelsea pitch owner? Makes no sense. So I understand that people will have a different opinion to me than that. They will probably have more of a location attachment than maybe I do, not being from there. But I'm like, it's within 10 minutes. And if we let the women's team there, maybe so. The only thing, though, I fear whenever we do build a new stadium, wherever it may be, even if it's not at Earl's Court, I feel like they're probably not going to keep the bridge and give to the women's team. And that then does make it a lot less fun. Charlie, what do you think about the whole situation? You're at the bridge pretty much most weeks, even though you're not from London. What do you think of the idea? And what do you think of the idea, or rather of the thought of people that are so adamantly against it, where like you're ruining everything, saying like the Chelsea Football Club was founded to play there, which is true, but it's a different time, things have changed since 1905.
Yeah, and I think one thing's clear, that when you look, we're a massive football club. Yes, we're not doing so well at the moment, but you look at us, and the one thing that we are miles behind of in terms of the top teams is our stadium. Yes, we all love Stamford Bridge. Yes, it's an iconic place. We love going there. But at the end of the day, mate, you've got to move with the times. We are miles behind in terms of match day revenue compared to the likes of City, United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham. Our stadium is shit compared. It's just facts. It's shit compared to those other stadiums. We're missing out on a lot of revenue. I understand why the owners would want a bigger stadium, because bigger stadium means more revenue and opportunity to make more money. More fans that would come as like a one-off experience, buy a lot of shit in the club shop, that sort of thing, more sort of revenue. And I think, we've had some great memories at Stamford Bridge. I love going there. It's a great place, but, things change. We can't, that's just life. Things move on. And I think for me personally, I would be at peace with moving away from the bridge if it was for the better of the football club. And, look, the Earl's Court situation for me personally, I think that I know that group have come out and said that there's not any like they want to do some different development there that's going to provide X amount of jobs, X amount of housing and whatnot. But maybe discussions can take place over that. I don't know. But I think for me, Earl's Court makes sense because one, you're not changing the match day experience at all. You're still going to the same area. I walk from Earl's Court every week. We're at home. It takes 10, 15 minutes max. It's making no difference to people's travelling arrangements or match day experience because it's in exactly the same area. And the fact that we can stay at Stamford Bridge whilst it was being built, if that were the case, is another massive plus. The one thing that you don't want to do, as Pi said, is to be stuck somewhere for 3, 4, 5 years playing your football at a Wembley or a Twickenham or a Craven Cottage or whatever stadium it ends up being. Because when you go to these big grounds like a Wembley, for example, it's hard to make it feel like it's at home. And secondly, teams are bang up for it because it's Wembley and not every team gets to play at Wembley very often. So it actually can become a bit of a disadvantage doing that. So for me, I think the best case scenario would be to play at Stamford Bridge whilst Earl's Court was being built. But also, I think a key thing is, and what's unique about Chelsea is the Chelsea pitch owners, is that should be transferred over to the new stadium as well. And then I think that's a best case solution, like for everyone. You're never going to please everyone. Whatever decisions you make, there's going to be some fans that are angry about leaving Stamford Bridge. There'll be some that are in the middle, and there'll be some that think it's a good idea. That's just the way it goes. You're never going to get a majority backing on a big decision like this. But ultimately, for me, like, we've got to move on. And the one thing that holds us back compared to other big clubs is our stadium. And it's as simple as that. And people don't like it when you talk about finances. Football's a business at the end of the day. You know, we're missing out on a lot of extra. We've got a massive fan base. We're missing out from a business perspective on a lot of extra money that we could do with at the end of the day. And business people want to make more money. And this is a way of making more money. So, look, I don't have a massive issue with it. But I can understand why people would be annoyed. But I feel that we need to move forward. You look at other teams that have left. Highbury was iconic for Arsenal, you know. Even the same with White Hart Lane for Spurs. But you look at the Emirates now, I mean, are Arsenal fans really that arse they left Highbury now?
How far is the Emirates from where Highbury was?
Oh, not very far at all, mate.
So like somewhat similar to what we're talking here.
Yeah, about 15 minutes or so.
Okay. Yeah.
And then White Hart Lane and the new Spurs stadium are literally less than that.
Yeah,
literally over the roads. Yeah, exactly. So, like, clubs have done it before, and I'm sure there would have been a lot of unrest about leaving Highbury and a lot of unrest about leaving White Hart Lane potentially. But as soon as a new stadium's built and you're in there and you're playing, people forget about it. I know you can look at West Ham's move from Upton Park to the London Stadium, and that's not worked out particularly well, and the London Stadium is a bit soulless. That's kind of a unique thing because it is an athletic stadium, basically.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't built for them. So
no, it wasn't built for football. So yeah. Look, I'll be honest, mate. My views in summary are that if we have to move stadium, then Earl's Court is the best case solution for all parties involved. It avoids us having to play somewhere else for a number of years. We can still play at Stamford Bridge whilst that's being built, and it doesn't alter the match day experience because you're still travelling to the same place.
There you go. I mean, Damesh, I'll take it to you. Charlie touched on the Chelsea pitch owners. And now, when you think about why and how the Chelsea pitch owners were created, you could even argue that they're not really necessary anymore, simply because the club is worth so much now that no owner, no matter who they own are, no matter how bad of an owner they are, they're not just going to liquidate the club to sell the property and then just to, make money that way, because the club is worth too much to make that worth it at this point. And that will probably never, ever change again. But still, for a principle's sake, for a tradition's sake, I do absolutely agree with Charlie that we should keep the Chelsea pitch owners on board. And like once the Chelsea pitch owners, if they do allow them to move, then I mean they aren't the hindrance to Chelsea in any way. Then so like what might as well keep them in my books. But yeah, Damesh, what do you think about this? And by the way, does anyone know? I swear a few years ago, there was also talk about not just Earl's Court, but also Battersea Station as a potential location. But that seems to now not be mentioned anymore. So I do find that interesting, especially seeing what I'll get on screen in a second, that Earl's Court apparently have other plans. So then if that's not a thing, then we need to think about something else.
Mate, just on Battersea Power Station, they've rebuilt that into a shopping centre now, so that site's gone.
Yeah. Aha, that's why it's gone. Well, so then if Earls Court have different plans, then we're mothered anyway. So like, but there you go. Damesh, go on.
Yeah, literally, bro. You read my mind about Battersea. I was just about to mention about sort of the Battersea project that was initially put forward, I think, a few years ago. And obviously now, like Charlie said, it's a shopping centre now. So that's obviously out the equation. And it's about, I believe, 20-25 minutes from Stamford Bridge, I believe. I think, give or take a few minutes and stuff. It's not too far. But yeah, I agree with the boys, to be fair. I'm more for sort of moving location, even though it's not even far to Earls Court. I think that's the best solution for us right now. And whenever I've sort of looked at Chelsea over the past sort of since I've been sort of like supporting them and following them, like the only criticism I've had is the stadium. That's it. Like, look at all these top teams, like Charlie mentioned, have great stadiums, great fan bases, but when I look at ours, like our stadium just isn't it compared to the elite of the elite. And then you look at international stadiums like Bayern Munich Stadium, you look at Barcelona, Real Madrid. Like, we need to be competing with these sort of teams in terms of stadium size and stature as well. So, and also the fact that we bring in revenue as well. And you also saw the reports of the money being lost as well. I can't remember what the figure was, like minus 200 million, was it, or something like that we lost in revenue and stuff. And we need to sort of make back through transfers and stuff. And I think with this stadium stuff as well, even though it's going to cost a lot of money, I think we'll make that revenue back as well. And I think that's been a big thing as well. Even during COVID,
eventually we will. But that's a good point as well, because depending on how much this would cost, like I say, you'd have to buy land first. You'd have to, build everything on top of it first. You're probably talking, well, certainly upwards of £1 billion, somewhere between £1 billion and £2 billion. Even if it is 200 million of revenue yearly, which personally, I feel like it's probably an overestimation of like to sell it better. Like, oh, look how much revenue we lose. So it's probably not quite that much. So it's going to take you a hot minute to make it back. Like Arsenal suffered from that as well to some extent. Now, obviously, we will have to wait and see whether our owners are then still capable of putting enough money in terms of transfers into the club, because Arsenal most certainly did suffer from when they just had to make the money back that they built the Emirates with and couldn't for a few years genuinely compete on the transfer market. But obviously that will always depend on the owner. But as we can see here on screen by Earls Court Development Company, they said, we categorically deny that there are any talks taking place with Chelsea Football Club about a stadium relocation to the Earls Court site. We have recently launched a draft master plan of a transformative mixed-use scheme to bring the wonder back to Earls Court. I don't know what wonder it is, but sure. Our master plan proposals will deliver 4,500 homes, 15,000 jobs, acres of public space and cultural facilities in the ambitious zero carbon development. There is no football stadium in our master plan. So what do you then make of that, Ramesh? Like, when they say that and Battersea isn't an option anymore, then what are we doing?
Well, it looks like we just stay put that at this point. And then obviously the other options were obviously moving to Wembley and moving to Twickenham. Like, I mean, if it means sort of building our stadium, like our new stadium for the future, if that's the only option, then I'll be for it and stuff. But originally, I'd want us to stick to sort of what Everton are doing, as the example that Pies gave about where they're playing at Goodison at the moment and they're building the new stadium. But if it means that we get a new stadium eventually, like, I personally wouldn't mind. Like, Twickenham's not far from my house anyway, so it'd be little 10-minute drive there. So
it's quite far out west, though, isn't it, Twickenham?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, mate. It's not on the tube line. It's a.
Oh, that is a stinker.
I'm just talking greedily for myself. Like, for me, it'd be perfect.
But I also think with Twickenham, though, like, Twickenham's never hosted anything other than rugby, and it's a massive stadium. So there must be. I don't think they do concerts there, do they?
No, they do, bro. Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
So, like, in terms of they only do concerts and rugby. They don't do anything. They don't do any other sports stuff there. So there must be a reason for that, because people must have tried to play there before, for sure.
I mean, we did in 2015. I absolutely know that we did.
Yeah, because the Earls Court chat's not new. Earls Court's been talked about years ago as well, when Roman was there. Like, it's not a new thing for Earls Court.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, like I just said, what Earls Court Development Company said there, I feel like if you just gave them a bit of money, they might change their master plan.
It's only a draft as well, isn't it? So that can easily be adjusted.
Exactly. So, like, if a couple of millies start flying across, I'm sure those master plans and drafts could be redrafted.
I'd also like to know where, because I get out of Earls Court most weeks when we're at home.
Yeah.
I'd love to know where this proposed site is, because you get out Earl's Court and there's like no fucking open space anywhere. So this
It's all
must
crammed
be
together, isn't it?
This must.
I
This,
think.
But isn't
I
it
think
because
that-
you just can't see it? Because apparently here's Earl's Court Station, right? So if you get, I'm not sure if that's where you get out. I'm not sure
it's basically it was called the old Earl's Court Exhibition Centre.
oh, mate, I must get out. There must be a couple of entrances or
Yeah,
exits.
There's like
because-
There's two or three entrances.
Yeah, mate. The
Earl's
one that
Court.
I go out of, I definitely don't see anything like that anywhere.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it. Obviously, I've not been around too much. But if you're like on the road and there's still a wall of a building there, you wouldn't see the whole rest of it, would you? So,
No,
like,
and
I
that
assume
and it
there's
and it
still
looks
some
like
sort
and it
of
looks like
building
that.
here.
It's like it's an open space like that, or has that just been like?
I think this is actually what the open space looks like. Obviously, you see the rail tracks, but I assume we could just build a stadium on top of that.
Yeah, I'd fuck knows. Yeah, I don't know.
But where the rail track's going to go under the stadium or something? I don't know.
You
But,
know, like
yeah,
an underground
maybe.
goes under the flipping ground. So why not put the rail tracks under the ground? So
Could work.
because otherwise, they're like we're clearly not going to move the rail tracks because where the flip are you going to move them? Buildings
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
buildings there. So like the only option is on top of it, I guess. But yeah, it is a crazy one. It's a difficult topic, all of it, because on the one hand, I agree with what Damesh just said in terms of it, which is the stadium's just on a different level. At the same time, like especially being a Chelsea fan, becoming a Chelsea fan from abroad, and having a lot of friends around here that supported like Bayern and Barca and Real Madrid and a few Manchester United, Liverpool fans and stuff, and Arsenal fans. I always love the fact that we still do in like an iconic, historic, like proper old school British football stadium, where like when you're in the first row, you're like beneath the pitch level, like a yard away from the sidelines. Like that's not a common thing. That's a thing that not a lot of stadiums can offer you anymore. Now, sure, almost all stadiums have bigger capacities than us, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 seaters. But they don't quite have that. So in an ideal world, I would prefer it if we could redevelop it, increase it, expand it on site. But I mean, life ain't a flipping pony farm. Like if it's not possible, if the surrounding areas mean that it's impossible, whether it's the rail tracks behind it, whether it's Fulham Broadway in front of it, whether it's apartment buildings next to it.
Sorry,
like-
Lawrence. Well, what's the actual reason then? Why can't we expand?
I think we
in
just
the
don't have the
stadium generally?
space
Like,
because of
what's
the road
reason?
and the rail
Oh,
tracks.
I-
And
I- I
you need
think-
more space to go up, right?
I
Because you
also
can't
think
build
it's
vertically.
because sorry, but I don't know if this is still the case, but one of the main reasons of the Roman why we couldn't expand the bridge was because Ken Bates fucking owns like the hotel or one of the buildings that you'd need to move
okay.
to.
But did he
to
have a
it.
problem with it?
I think so, yeah, because
Just
that's
buy
why
it.
that's I don't know if that's still the case, but there was one of the hotels or the buildings near the ground was owned by Ken Bates, and he didn't want
Also,
something
wasn't there an issue where one of the players' ashes got buried under the?
yeah, it's
pit
Osgood.
plumbing and then-
Yeah, Peter Osgood's
Peter
ashes
Osgood,
are under the penalty spot at one of the ends. I can't remember which end it is.
But
But
what has that got to do with redeveloping it in the same ground? Just
Well, because they
dig
were
it
going to
up,
build it up, weren't
save
they?
it and put it back in the new spot.
yeah,
No,
you could bury it under the pitch. Like you could dig it up and obviously preserve it and put it under the new pitch at the
Yeah.
new stadium.
Again,
if that was the case.
dig
But
it
yeah.
up not in a disrespectful way. Dig it up in the most respectful way possible. Obviously.
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about.
You
But,
don't
I
want
mean-
to be doing that, really, though.
No, you don't. But I mean, I think look,
it's all
there's-
about his family, no? Like if his family don't have a problem with it, then
Yeah, I mean, it's look, as I said before, like it's a tough one because you're in an impossible situation because you're never going to please everyone. That's the reality.
no, that's
True.
exactly it. And I mean, we clearly found some sort of way around it back in 2015 because we announced those plans, and then a few months later, it was announced that we got building permission from Fulham City Council. So we clearly got somewhere, but then obviously Brexit happened, and then obviously inflation became more and more, and the predicted cost went from £500 million to like over £1 billion. And at the time, Roman wasn't then willing, and that's also when he then was denied his visa. So he was like, "So you lot want me to put over £1.2 billion into your economy, but you're not even giving me a visa?" And he was like, "Well, flip off," basically. And I'm like, "Well, fair flipping dues." Like I would have told them the same thing. If you're not giving me a work visa, but want me to put £1 billion into your economy, like you are mental.
Are there any other stadiums we can move to? I'm just trying to think. Like
In
we'll
terms
share
of
with.
temporarily.
Yeah, if we were to sort of
I don't know.
forget the idea of Earl's Court and stuff, and
I mean,
let
you'd
it
have the
build
same
or-
issues everywhere, right? Like if you said Brentford, they're also small, like Fulham.
More proper small.
Exactly. Like, I don't know if there's any other sort of stadiums like Twickenham anywhere in the vicinity, but
no, not really.
So there.
Harlequin Stadium's tiny, actually.
You don't really have a lot of options. I mean, you could ask Arsenal to play at Emirates. I wouldn't put it past Bowley to
That's
try.
another thing as well, by the way, Laurenz, is like trying to get more sort of matchday fans going as well, because the amount of people that sort of can't go and stuff, like due to like the ticket situation as well. Like, if we have that increased sort of capacity as well, then it's going to be much easier for people to attend games, and people who've been waiting ages as well to sort of go to games regularly, because for whatever reasons, if they try through their waiting system or something like that and they can't get in, if they just have total bad luck on it, then that's.
I mean, I do remember. I hope Bowley would do it slightly differently to what Roma did. I do remember when those plans came out in 2015, that even though we had an increase in capacity of 20,000, only 8,500 would have been more tickets to fans. It would have been 12,000 new hospitality tickets out of 20. I'm like, well, that's a bit ridiculous. So hopefully we do it a bit better than that nowadays. But that was the plan at the time. But yeah, I mean, does anyone else still have anything to add on that? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next topic.
No,
good,
that's it, bro. Yeah,
very good. Shall we talk about? What shall we start with? Shall we talk about the Kai Havertz thing? It's not really the biggest thing. It was a big thing early in the morning, because I say early in the morning, but like India, like just before lunchtime, I guess. Fabrizio came out with this. Kai Havertz on difficulties on rejecting Bayern revealed in 2020. Clearly, that would still be difficult, or that would be still difficult. Havertz on Tuchel, we had a very good relationship. I'm grateful working with him again. I'd like it. You never know what will happen in football. The reason why we went live, I'm not sure how many of you realize that we went a few minutes live, is because I was listening to said podcast, which was a German podcast. And I was like, okay, let me actually hear what they're waffling about here before I give it the big one about misquoting everybody. So now I have listened to it. The most hilarious thing is about this. So this podcast starts by the interviewer, telling Kai, well, they have some sort of button. So if they don't want to answer, if he doesn't want to answer a question, he can hit this button instead. And also the interviewer has this button. If he's like not happy with an answer and he wants a better answer, he can also hit this button. So initially he was basically talking about how the whole transfer to Chelsea came about. It's like, 2020, obviously a lot of financial problems, but then he was talking about how Lampard and Cech made him feel so like appreciated by Chelsea, and that's why he felt valued, and that's why he decided to go with that, essentially. He also, like I say, specified, and I don't know if someone misquoted that elsewhere, but was like, I think it was the right decision in hindsight, no question about it. Like basically just saying how great of a thing it is. And then he's obviously asked about the Bayern thing, and he clearly he's laughing about it as he hits this button when asked what about, would it still be difficult to turn down Bayern? And then he hits this button, he's like, haha, you never know, continued on as then asked about would he want to work with Thomas Tuchel again? And he's like, yeah, of course, a great manager type thing. So it's clearly blown out of context a little bit. Now things have calmed down drastically. After the initial quotes were then put out, Fabrizio kind of corrected himself in a minute as well. Big up Cesario for the rate, I assume from Lewis. Big up yourself, Lewis. Let me get up this other one. Where is it from? Pice. You posted some sort of explanation for it. I didn't find this from Fabrizio himself. I'm not sure. Maybe he said it on YouTube. But yeah, he then clarified it for himself. At this moment, Kai Havertz and his agent are not talking about a transfer away from Chelsea. It was just being respectful to Tuchel and Bayern. And the situation and feeling is that it is not like the Lukaku situation, which is a set of wording that I think CFC Daily used. But yeah, that's how it went. But yeah, it's I don't really know why the media do this. I keep advocating for before we. And I understand we don't always have the time, especially when it's a podcast of an hour and 16 minutes in a different language for most people. You can't always. But in an ideal world, before judging anything on quotes, just don't go on quotes. Just try to watch or read the full interview. Even the Thomas Tuchel stuff, which we get to later, which wasn't drastically misquoted. It was just two completely separate sentences that were said a minute apart from each other, turned into one sentence, which just made it sound different to what it quite was in reality. Not too different. So we'll get to that later. But like I'm saying, it just annoys me when why Fabrizio? You're the biggest journalist in the whole world. Why do you need to misquote him? Like, obviously, Fabrizio didn't listen to it himself. He don't speak German. So someone must have told Fabrizio and he just flipping went with it. I'm like, why did you do this to yourself? I don't understand. But yeah, it was like, obviously, I can't tell you guys unless you speak German to listen to the podcast, but I would recommend it. It's a very insightful podcast and I think Kai comes across in it very well. Otherwise, is there much to say on the topic now that it's kind of been cleared up that it wasn't as serious as people made it out initially? He's not trying to leave instantly out. Obviously, we talked about that the other day. Was it Pletigol, yeah? Who said Kai Havertz wants to leave in the summer? Who knows if that part is true. But he also said that Bayern don't want him. And as we discussed back then, if he doesn't go to Bayern, where the flip else could he go? So, like, we might end up being stuck with him whether we want to or not this summer anyway. But is there anything you would like to add to this whole situation, Charlie? Or, like,
no, not really, mate. I don't think it's that much of a big deal, to be perfectly honest. It just feels into the online kind of toxicity as such. Like when you see a very respectable journalist with a big platform like Fabrizio not tweeting out the full context of said quotes, it then makes people think that Havertz has said something different to what he has said. It brings more hate onto him. It makes people form false opinions. It's just not helpful. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that Fabrizio speaks German. He would have just been handed those quotes, I presume, by someone or got them from somewhere, maybe put them through a translator or whatever, and tweeted them out. You could argue maybe he should do a bit more due diligence. Maybe the character limit meant he had to chop the first bit. So, to fit it all in one. Who knows? But yeah, not a massive deal. But again, it just goes to show you that how tweeting out stuff without proper context can cause big problems. But in terms of the quotes itself, I don't really care, to be honest. No big deal. Want to play for many people have said they want to play for Mourinho again. Not a problem. He'd like to play for Thomas Tuchel again. Maybe it will happen. Maybe it won't. That's absolutely fine in my book. I don't care. And that's kind of it for me on that.
Exactly. I don't think that's too much more to add on it. Damesh, similar thoughts, yeah?
Yeah, no, initially, like in the morning when I first sort of saw Fabrizio's tweet or whenever he tweeted out, I was like, oh, what? Havertz wants to leave. But then obviously the stuff that you guys obviously said in the group and stuff, and obviously reading more into it and stuff, it's taken way out of context and stuff. So yeah, that just proves that you just need to read in between the lines at times as well, not just look at what's being sort of said first. Just do your research a little bit more. But yeah, I just think like all the sort of like toxic, like you mentioned, all the toxic behaviors that be going on Twitter. It's just ODT. But yeah, I couldn't care less, to be honest. Like now, really reflecting on it, like and reading properly about it and stuff. But yeah, if, I'm sure one day he'll want to go back to Germany because obviously that's his home sort of country, isn't it? As well, I'm sure he'd want to go back there one day as well. So
to be fair, he is from nowhere near Munich, so I'm not sure if that would necessarily mean Bayern. But yeah, no, absolutely. He did say in this podcast that his dream was like to play abroad, like Spain or England, and and that's what he's done. So
and also the fact that
if eventually the dream will be to go back, I don't know, but. I mean, half of our fan base want to sell him anyway. That's what I found kind of the funniest thing about it. I'm
also, mate, as well, just the fact that with Tuchel being at Bayern now, that so many of our players are gonna be linked with Bayern now, just because he's there and stuff. It's just naturally gonna happen, to be honest, that our players sort of get linked because our previous manager's gone there. We've seen obviously the Mason Mount links to Bayern, which I don't think are real, to be honest, and obviously the Kovacic one.
I just hope he wants Lukaku, really, but probably not.
No, definitely not.
That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, I do just find it funny how, I mean, I say half this fan base. It's probably more than half of the fan base has spent the last, more than a year abusing Kai Havertz. And then, now we found out that the quotes weren't real anyway, or not quite that phrased that way as Fabrizio initially put them out. But even if he did say it exactly those ways, I do find it funny that the people that abused him for the last 15 months are then angry at him for saying I might want to leave. Well, flipping no shock then. You've abused him for the last 15 months. Don't flipping one day might want to leave.
I saw a quote to you as well, bro, saying that this is worse than what Lukaku did or something like that. I was just like, what?
It was like, I don't know how these agendas come about. But anyway, Pice, much to add? I think it's kind of all been cleared up by now.
Yeah, no, not really. When I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, what's this?" Like, that's quite funny.
Yeah.
But
I was the same though. Like, I know I did a big one about you know, you got to do your research. But because it was Fabrizio, like, how often does Fabrizio misquote?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Not that I was aware of,
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's not that deep, to be honest. You know, if he leaves in the summer, he leaves. You know, if not, he doesn't. Like, just see what happens, innit? I think the summer's going to be, you know, we know there's going to be a lot of departures, but I don't think this is something that the fans should get like offended by. Like, it's not like he said, "Oh, you know, look how bad we've been this season," or something like that. And you know, he's not taking any responsibility for it. He's just saying, you know, by the way, wasn't this in the context of like 2020 anyway? It was like.
Yeah, no, exactly. So basically, they were talking through like his career path. Like the interviewer was like, "Yeah, you know, like every young boy, imagine like, you know, in 2020 you move to Chelsea and then you win the Champions League, you play for the national team. Like, it's all great, isn't it?" And then they came kind of back to that conversation, like, yeah, you know, obviously Bayern, Real Madrid, Man United, all kind of interested back then. And he said, yeah, you know, and everyone was saying like, yo, you know, wait a week and then maybe, or next year, or everyone was sort of giving him all sorts of like holding him off answers. And Chelsea were like seriously pursuing it. And that's why he chose Chelsea. But I think you also need to be like, it's a bit like with most English players, unless they're specifically fans of another big club. If like an English player plays abroad and then you're like, oh, would it be difficult to say no to Manchester United? They would probably say, yeah, it's probably not easy as well, because they're the biggest club in the country you're from. So like, you know, duh. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, not really much.
These fans are going to have a shock when, you know, Enzo wants to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know,
we're a huge club. Doesn't, you know? Let's just hope Reece doesn't.
No. Players have got other ambitions. You know, we're a huge club, but you know, there is bigger clubs whether we like it or not. So
Hazard as well. He
exactly
said he
Hazard sacked Madrid off for 3 years, and all of us love him still.
The problem is obviously is like I saw a few people say like Hazard and that, but then like I saw a few like replies saying, well, yeah, Hazard was like, you know, one of our best players ever. He didn't stink it up weekly. So I think the main issue is just like, I know these quotes were not like a dig at Chelsea or whatever, but the people who initially thought it was like a bad interview or something, the main point was that they don't rate Havertz. So it was nothing really to do with the quotes. It was just like for example, if he said this about Bayern and he was like performing like Hazard did, then people would be like, oh, you know, like they'd probably be trying to get him to stay. Like they wouldn't even care about like, you know what I mean? Like
I don't know.
Like
I know Daly kind of retracted it since then, but he said it's as bad, if not worse, than Lukaku. I'm like, sorry, what now? That's nothing to do with how, you know how good or bad the kid played or not. Like, come on.
No, but like what I mean though is if Havertz was like our best player, like if he was unreal every single week, like Hazard was, people would be like, oh fuck, like why has he come out and said that? But they wouldn't be like,
in general have a different opinion, obviously, right?
Yeah,
like everyone
thing is like, with Hazard, like whenever Hazard used to say like Real Madrid, he used to speak like most international breaks. Like I saw very minimal people who used to be annoyed with that, just because like they didn't like it. Because he was our best player. Like he was different. Like people kind of understood it. Like people said for years he was, you know,
he did always also make sure to never like disrespect Chelsea and always speak
of course. Like there was times where he was like, you know, yeah, I love Real Madrid and all this, but you know, like yeah, you get my point. If Havertz
exactly
was
like if any of us were pros and we played for a different club, we would say that about Chelsea. And what could they say against that? Like we were Chelsea kids, fans from young. So like, is what it is. Hazard was a Chelsea
look
fan,
at Enzo, bro.
Madrid fan from young. He's like that.
Benfica, big club. Look at Enzo. He was literally like on his hands and knees to join us. Like you have to look at it from the other way around as well. There's players that do this at other clubs to clubs that, you know, to us, to Chelsea. So yeah, it's
exactly. I mean, yes, but if they weren't being too sad, I don't think anyone would have been angry about the comments. Yeah, I mean, so I think it's kind of a mix of the two, I suppose. But we had another few interesting quotes today where we can debate somewhat being misquoted by this German journalist, who was slightly harshly done by, because I think none of us really we saw the quotes. And all of us knew, it came from a press conference in Bayern. So all of us thought they were German quotes. So then I watched the press conference back. I'm like, okay, let me be that smart ass that actually understands German and see if there was a misquote or not. Initially just trying to be helpful, quite honestly. And then I realized, a question was asked in English anyway. And then now the version I watched, I've since on Twitter seen the purely English version, but when I watched it, there was a German translator speaking over it all the time. So I was kind of trying to listen to Tuchel's English while this stupid German translator, who had an American accent somehow anyway, was constantly shouting in my ear as I'm trying to listen to what Tuchel said. But yeah, Tuchel was asked about basically Chelsea, asked about his sacking, as it says here, was a shock, the meeting. But he also said in his car on the way to the meeting, he kind of had a feeling that's what was going to happen. So that was interesting. He said the meeting only lasted 3 to 5 minutes at 8 a.m. He then added, but he also wasn't really in the mood to speak any longer. So I wonder if he was a bit more I don't know, talkative. I wonder if then the meeting would have been a bit longer and maybe that wouldn't have been made such a big story. But I also understand it totally from his perspective. He didn't want to get sacked. So if you're being told you're getting sacked at 8 a.m, you're like, well, all right, cheers, boys. Then pay me my payout and see you later. I understand it as well from his perspective. Especially now, obviously, it's always how much do you believe the media? How bad was the relationship between him and Bowley? If the relationship wasn't bad, why did he get sacked? Right? So that's my logic. Because we all know he wasn't sacked for results, so it must have been the relationship between them. I never thought, and I know, Pice, you confirmed that many a times over the summer. I personally never thought that he necessarily lost the dressing room. As much as I had my issues with Tuchel in terms of that, I think it was a bit too pragmatic. Even though he tried things in the summer and then kind of lost the plot a little bit in terms of when he said the things he said after the Arsenal game and stuff. But it's probably frustration. But hey, it is what it is. He didn't said some wonderful things about Chelsea in terms of how many great relationships he built there, how much it felt like a family, and then he had to find a new challenge. And it's sad to you on the one hand. But yeah, I just try to move on. I understand not everyone can do that as quickly as everybody else like that, and that's fine. What I don't like is people getting hung up on an ex-manager. I was very vocal about this on Twitter. I think it's silly to post training pictures from Bayern because I'm like, why are you doing that? What benefit do you have from that? Have you done that for any other manager ever? It's just weird. Okay, you could say, but he is my favorite manager ever, so this is why I'm doing this for the first time ever. Okay, fair enough. But he's not here anymore. As much as we all rated him and loved him, some people longer, some people less long, some people still do. He's still not a manager anymore. So what benefit does anyone get out of it of still sulking over Tuchel? That's not going to make you any happier. Do you know what I mean? And constantly dwelling over how great Tuchel was isn't going to make you deal with us being a bit mediocre these days. They're going to make it easier. Just going to make yourself more and more angry. And that's why I'm so annoyed when people fill it the timeline with it, because I'm like, okay, you can think what you want, and I know it's your Twitter account, but you also other people go on Twitter and they might not want to constantly be reminded of Thomas Tuchel. Now again, they can mute and unfollow and all sorts of things. I'm aware, but why? Just let it be in the past. It is what it is now. My God. But yeah, there's some nice words from Tuchel today, even if he didn't quite word it the way of it hurts still. It was like a family. He didn't quite put those two sentences together that way, but he still said some lovely words. Pice, on your end, I know you I don't know how to word it, but you're still a big fan of Tuchel. You're still in love with him, whatever. So for you, as much as they were nice words, they're probably somewhat painful words to you, I assume?
Yeah, of course. I slightly disagree with you saying, we shouldn't post him or whatever, but, I still, he's personally my favourite ever Chelsea manager, so, he is to, I love Mourinho as well, but Mourinho, actually, no, I'm not going to say that because that's going to start an argument, but, Tuchel's, he's never gone to a rival, Chelsea's his only Premier League team he's been at, and, I've just forever love him for that. I don't know, every time I watch videos of him at Chelsea, I just get happy and sad at the same time. I don't know, I just had a special connection with him personally. I always remember the last game of the season where he came over to the Matthew Harding and he tipped his cap and all that. That was really special to be in amongst all that. And I don't know, I think it's just because I saw it all so personally, I guess. Yeah, I don't know, but
I mean, maybe that's part of it, because obviously Tuchel was mainly here during the whole pandemic period. The only game with Tuchel in charge I got to see in person. Let me just think if I'm not waffling about this. Yeah, I think so. Was the FA Cup final, which we lost the penalties. So obviously someone that would have been able to see all the home games and stuff. Maybe that would happen. I don't know. Like I say, I mean, clearly there's going to be people that have different opinions. Pice and like me, for example, in the chat says nothing wrong to post Tuchel training pics. I think so. Like first day, like first press conference, all that Chelsea football Twitter was filled about was Tuchel. I'm like, all right, calm down. Now I understand it's not everybody posting 5 posts, it's everyone posting 1, and that adds up. I'm aware, but yeah.
I did see one tweet that I was like, okay, that's a bit weird, where he posted like 4 pictures and the caption was like Tuchel's first training session. Like,
yeah,
for me, it was just more like, you know, like the picture I posted on my personal account of him sitting on the ball. Like, I just reminisced over what he did. You know, I saw that same picture in my head at Chelsea. And I was just like, I don't know, I just miss. I don't know, I just miss like his vibe, I guess, like his character, like just don't know, just the way he acted.
Yeah. Although I did find it quite funny. I looked like a fish from SpongeBob when he was wearing that thing over his head. It looked quite funny. And then people were giving me all the aura things. I'm like, what aura are you talking about? It looks like a fish. But anyway, Dharmesh, your thoughts on the whole thing? I don't want to get hung up on it for too long.
Yeah, no, obviously it's gutting to obviously not have Tuchel as manager still. Yeah, you could totally feel his vibe as well, like with the crowd as well, like being at games as well. Like you really engage with the crowd as well, and like some of the atmospheres at Stamford Bridge were so good. Like obviously past sort of COVID times and stuff, and then obviously delivered us the UCL, the Super Cup, and the Club World Cup as well, which we hadn't won before as well. So yeah, it is what it is. We have to move on, and that's the great Graham Potter says that's life, innit? So. Yeah, we kind of have to
quite literally is life, yeah.
we kind of just have to move forward with it. And personally, for me, I don't think he's my favorite manager of all time at Chelsea. For me, it's still Jose. But I can understand why Pies would have him.
But even for Pies, it must because he's quite young. I think if you were older, it would still be Jose. I think just because Tuchel wasn't here.
I think it depends on the like what Pies felt that sort of like.
I mean, sure, how you feel for it personally obviously will make a difference. But that's what I'm saying in terms of if you're older and you were old enough to feel that during the Jose days, then you would, I don't know, but I don't want to talk anyone's.
But yeah, I think those Fabrizio quotes I think was stuff that we kind of knew already, I think, from reading Athletic articles initially when he got sacked and stuff. And obviously at the time it was surprising, as we all sort of felt. Under the new regime, if Roman was still here, he'd probably still be manager, in my opinion as well. And yeah, we just have to move past. We just have to move past it and think of Chelsea, not of Tuchel. To be honest, that's just the way it has to be for us. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we do come up against Tuchel's Bayern in the semis. Though I'm sure. I'm sure the reception will be hopefully good for Tuchel when he comes. I don't want to bring him, but obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will. If that game were to happen like that, obviously the whole Anthony Barry stuff looks like he will be going there. They have in the end turned up with some compensation. I'm not sure if they've gone quite as high as we want yet. But Potter was also in his press conference today asked about, like, you know, if we were to allow it, do we only want him to join after potential Champions League semi-final, which I think is vital. Like, even if we let him go, let's wait until the quarters. If both of us are through, he needs to wait longer. If one of us goes out, then he can go straight away. That's how I would view that. He definitely should not be allowed to go anywhere near Munich before we face them. Charlie, any thoughts in terms of the comments themselves or anything else in terms of, you know, the Anthony Barry stuff over the last few days?
No, not massively. We knew that Tuchel was going to be asked about this at some point. He couldn't not speak about it forever. So, you know, the quotes come out. It's nostalgic. It's nice. He's being honest. He always speaks from the heart. He always did when he was at Chelsea. You wouldn't expect anything less. I can understand that, like, you hear that and you sort of, it makes you think back to the time he'd done. And I think there's a much closer bond with Tuchel and the fans because of the way he fronted up for the club during the sanctions period, a really tough time when those in more senior positions were found wanting and quite frankly behaved like cowards, leaving him to fend and fight for the club with no one else saying anything. So you form a bit more of an affinity towards him. He's done great stuff at the club. The quotes are great. They're nice. End of the day, though, he's left Chelsea. if people want to still talk about him, they're more than entitled to. Of course they are. But for me personally, thanks for what you've done. See you around if you come back to Stamford Bridge for Bayern or you ever come back and manage again. But up to that, thanks for what you've done. And, we got to move on. There's no point, keep on going on about Tuchel. He's not here anymore. It doesn't help anyone, in my opinion. Yeah. Yes, you can have your memories and you can have your fond moments to speak about him, but to constantly
that's all it's about, though, Charlie. It's nothing more than that. Like,
yeah, I think for most people,
more of it are the ones that have got a problem, in my opinion.
I also I mind it less if people post pictures from Tuchel at Chelsea. Like, if anyone posts a picture of holding the Champions League trophy, I don't think anyone is going to have an issue with that. But Bayern training pictures are where I don't see it as necessary. Now, I understand, for me, just me personally, nothing to do with Chelsea, Bayern are, in a way, a rival. So, obviously, partly, if he went to Spurs, you wouldn't want to see training pictures either. For me, Bayern is the same as Spurs. So, maybe that's part of it too. I understand. But, yeah, just why Bayern? I know people at Chelsea don't see it like I do, but, last time we played them, they absolutely embarrassed us. First time we tried to win the Super Cup, they beat us. I know we won the Champions League there, but they weren't exactly nice about it after and before to us. So I don't understand why anyone doesn't have a dislike for them personally. But hey, that's a whole different debate. Anything you wanted to add on that, Charlie?
No, I don't think so, mate. Kind of said what I feel about it.
There you go.
And yeah, that's kind of it, really. Yeah.
Fair play. Well, one last thing I wanted to touch on this, because I've seen a couple of people, it's not been a lot, but a couple of people almost hint at, Tuchel is doing this on purpose, knowing that making such nice comments will almost cause even more drama at Chelsea. I'm like, come on now. Let the man make some nice comments without trying to portray any bad intent into that. That's just silly. At the same time, fans were doing the exact same thing when he, did the whole speaking publicly about Anthony Barry thing. They did the same thing where he's just butter. He's just getting revenge. I'm like, well, did he sound like he's getting revenge today? Certainly wasn't getting revenge the other day either. He was just being a bit silly or just trying to do his very best to get Anthony Barry to join them, and then felt a bit bad about doing that, and now he was super nice about it today. I don't know what happened or whatever, but hey, here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, exciting news. For the first time in ages, we have a quiz created by Quizmaster Bertram for the get-go today. So very excited about that. Ladies and gentlemen, get involved in the quiz if you want to. Sometimes they're more difficult, sometimes they're less difficult. So let's see what we get. I haven't seen any of the questions, but I know that we don't have any fashion choices to rate today. So, we'll see how it goes. The pride against the villains. The battle of the two world champions in Enzo Fernandez and Emi Martinez, of course. I'm not sure what rim it is, if I'm honest, but hey, here we move. Tomorrow is a big day for every Chelsea fan, as we play a massive game at home against an informed team, which we should be beating. So the quiz will be about the game that every Chelsea fan will be watching tomorrow. Tomorrow, most of our fan base, new toys, TTs, Thomas Tuchel's Bayern take on Dortmund. At what time? That is funny.
I reckon
so this is not UK time. So if you happen to know the kickoff time for this game in UK time, add 1 hour. But yeah, does anyone know?
I reckon it's.
I'm the fanboy now because I know the kickoff time for this one.
I reckon it's got 6:30 written all over it.
Okay.
Yeah. 6:30.
You going to 6:30 as well, Damas?
Yeah, 6:30 as well.
And Pice, are you going to lie and tell us you don't know, or?
No, I saw it plugged on Sky Sports yesterday, so it is 6:30, 5:30 UK. It's the same time as our game.
Yeah, no, exactly. It is. I initially thought they'd play Sunday, but turns out they're not. So yeah, that's fun. But hey, here we are. Let's go. Jokes aside, we all love when the Liquidator plays, as our heroes pass through the Stamford Bridge pitch for the first time. Villa also have an older tune playing when the players walk out. Now, I'm not sure quite how many away days Darmesh has got under his belt, but I'm pretty sure Charlie's probably been to Villa. So Charlie will know this, and I've got not a clue.
I was at Villa Park in October, got absolutely no idea
it's
what song
not
they
3.
played when they
Isn't
walked
Crystal
out.
Palace, number 3.
I thought I went to Palace as well. Don't know what they
someone
played
just
there.
giving me a random song title.
I'm going to go with number 2 because it just sounds.
Is
like
he asking us what anthem the Villa play?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like we
I've
play
heard it
Liquid Data,
before.
what song do they play?
but
I reckon
Oh,
it's.
supposed to
I
know
reckon
that.
it's Silver Lining. I'll just go with that.
I think it's number
How
4.
the fuck am I supposed to know that? I have no idea.
I don't think you're supposed to. I think you're just supposed to. Surely they didn't go with Z cars. Like that doesn't sound like something in Birmingham, does it? Glad all over. I mean, now that Damesh said, "Isn't that Palace?" Otherwise, I
Yeah,
might have
that's what
gone
I
for
thought.
that.
But I
But
think number 4. I think it's the 4th one.
I'll go
Fairs.
2.
I've not had nice things about Birmingham, so I'm going to go Escape.
Yeah, bro. Birmingham's not the. Yeah, avoid it.
Right, but, mate, you get out of the train station by Villa Park. It's a proper shithole.
Yeah,
That is-
fully is, bro.
All right, let's find out. Let's find out what the correct. Why is it not letting me move slides? It was Escape. Come on, I knew it. I knew it all along. All along. All right, let's move on. Question 2. As tomorrow is the LA Derby, the La Albiceleste when World Cup winners Dibu and Enzo meet. Which team actually boasts the most World Cup winners? Either 1 with Chelsea. What?
No, 1 Chelsea, 2 Villa, or 3 equal. So those are the options. Well, we've got what? We've got Enzo and Kante as World Cup winners.
Yeah.
And Villa have got
just Martinez, isn't it?
Martinez. There might be a
Is
sneaky
Luca
other one.
Digne a World Cup winner?
Why is Mikel's face photoshopped on there?
Oh, that's why that is.
What the hell?
Because Mikel is the real GOAT. That's why I put it over Messi's head.
I think we got more. I think we must have more than Villa because I can't think. We definitely got 2.
Isn't Luca Digne? Doesn't he have a World Cup technically, or no?
Was he in the French squad in 2018?
I reckon he might have been.
No, maybe it's equal at 2 apiece then.
This is a trick question, man.
there's
surely gonna be one that
Luca Digne
we don't
shout,
remember.
I would guess equal. Honestly,
Yeah, because we've definitely got 2, and if it's Luca Digne, then that makes 2 for Villa as well.
I'm not sure if he was in the squad back then,
What, in
but I
18?
just feel like for him to ask the question makes it quite likely that he was.
I want to go equal.
Spice, what are you going to guess?
I'll go equal as well. Yeah.
Damesh, you too?
Yeah, I'll go equal as well. Yeah.
All right. 3, of course. But no. Of course, it's the mighty Chelsea with 2. Enzo and Kante.
So
apparently,
Digne
wasn't in the squad.
I
Wasn't in the
confused
squad
everyone.
There you go. Well, we're mad then. Off we go to the next question. Quizmaster Bertram himself is a goalkeeper. Pies knows. And would therefore give anything to have some of whatever kept a smoke before our game against them last time. Question is, what was Villa's XG in that game? Oh, boy.
I think it might have been like. I honestly think it could have been 2.45, mate. They were battering us.
Yeah, I can't imagine it was 3.9. That'd be crazy.
No, I think 2.45.
I'll go 2.45 as well.
Yeah, I'd probably guess that too, honestly. Just purely logically thinking. Would you guess that too, Pies, or would you go for something different?
I'm either thinking 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go number 4.
I hope it's not 4.
I hope it's not 4. That would be damning. Yeah, no, it was the third one.
Well,
2.45 XG. Yeah, Kepa certainly had a good day against them last time out. So hopefully he does the same tomorrow because presumably he will play again. Oh, yeah, I love those. Oh, yeah, I remember him. So we need to now figure out which Chelsea player, former Chelsea player, potentially, Bertram is talking about. We get 3 clues. Clue number 1. I signed for Chelsea from France and played a whole host of games for the Blues. Well, obviously, that could still be anybody. So I assume we all agree that we should get to clue 2. I accumulated 15 pieces of silverware during my tenure in blue, becoming the fans' man of the match in one of the finals even. He signed from France.
Could be Drogba from Marseille because that's 15 bits of silverware. Could be Drogba.
Yeah, but he would have way more than one man of the match.
Wait, Laurenz, what was clue 1 again? Go back to clue 1.
Signed from France.
Oh, signed from. Oh, I thought you said. Oh, okay.
I mean, has Malouda got? Has Malouda got 15?
Malouda.
He hasn't got 15
Malouda
bits
as
of
well.
silverware, has he? Could be Hazard as well.
Anelka?
Hazard was from Lille. Maybe it's Hazard.
Did Hazard? I don't think Hazard would have won 15 titles.
No, I didn't win that.
No, mate. I actually think it could be Drogba.
Oh wait, I've got a shout.
Clue?
Maybe it's Joe Cole.
We didn't sign him from France though. We signed him from West
Sold
Ham.
him to France.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, we might not have sold him there, but he went there in the end. I mean, Malouda is a shout.
I just don't think Malouda won 15 trophies. Surely not.
Well, when did Malouda sign? Was it 08 or 07 he signed?
I think I was 7.
Scott,
So
I don't think it's 15. It can't be Malouda. It's
Can't
got to
be
be Drogba.
15.
It's got to be Drogba. Surely.
It must be Drogba.
It can't be that Drogba only won one man of the match.
Yeah, but he's the only one out of him, Hazard, and Malouda that could have possibly won 15 bits of silverware.
Where did we sign John Obi Mikel from?
Lyn Oslo in Norway,
Where did we sign Makelele from?
Madrid,
Yeah.
True.
and
Someone in the
Kante.
chat
We
saying
got...
Aspie, but did Aspie come from France? I can't remember. To be
Oh
honest.
shit! Aspie came from
Aspie
Marseille.
came from France.
Could be Aspie. But
Would he have been man of the match in a final?
Yeah.
And also, this
Maybe
year
Carling
there's a
Cup
whole
final
host of
against
games
Spurs.
for the Blues. Now, it could still be Drogba, obviously, but, you know, Aspie's quite high on that
It
list.
could be
Did
Aspie.
Aspie get man of the match in the cup final against Spurs in 2014-15?
I can't remember that. Oh,
Oh.
could it be Czech?
Hmm.
Because we got him from Rennes, didn't
Yeah,
we?
that's right.
In goal.
And for a goalie to get one man of the match would certainly be a much more mentionable thing.
Czech must have got man of the match for the Champions League final then,
Yeah,
right?
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
You know
Czech.
what? I'm going to go with that. Let's see
I'm
what
gonna
Clue 3 is, but I think Czech is a good shout.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, well,
I was
there we
signed from
go.
Rennes before
Yeah,
playing my heart
yeah.
out for the Chelsea and finally retiring at another London.
Yeah, it's Czech.
So the Clue 3 made it a bit easy, but with Clue 2, I think we did well, to be fair to us. I think we did well. Ladies and gentlemen, if you got that, big up yourself. But only if you got it at Clue 2. If you got it at Clue 3, it don't count. All right. The Chelsea way. All right, it's made it even more difficult. It's not even giving us amounts of goals and games now. So basically,
there's a team called Torres.
Well, apparently. Unless it's just Torres and play for his own team.
And it's this is the order of teams, right? He started at Nuarese, then Torres, then Napoli, Parma, Chelsea. Oh, I know who that is.
Yeah, I know who it is.
It's Zola.
Yeah, it's got to be
Yeah.
Zola.
Zola.
Zola. Anyway, everybody in agreement on
Yeah.
Zola?
Yeah.
So it's got to be.
I mean, Napoli, Parma, and Cagliari, even if we have no idea who the other two are, it's got to be Gianfranco Zola. And I assume that's it, but let's see. Oh, no, the golden goal scorer.
Fucking hell.
Why are you bringing that up, Bertram? Just
2-2 at the Emirates.
Oh, it's Marcus
Easy.
Alonso.
Easy, it's Alonso.
Yeah, Marcus Alonso.
Yeah. I think I was at that game, you know.
What, at Emirates?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This was when Morata had the biggest stinker of all time.
And
Right?
Oh, no, I
Zappa
wasn't at
Costa
that
hit
game.
the bar,
Oh, yeah,
didn't he, as
that-
well?
that-
Whitehead was hot. This guy missed 3 1-on-1s.
Yeah,
And then Zappa Costa smashed the bar on a volley on the rebound.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't finish. This was honestly one of the most painful games ever. Morata had my head hot this game, man. I remember it was so bad.
one of the worst striker performances I think I've ever seen, honestly. Like how he was 1-on-1 with the keeper so many times. He just put it wide. My God. But yeah, that was Marcus Alonso. At least Morata was happy behind him. And now he's somehow Spain captain. Well, how the world works. But this is the end of this quiz. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed. If you're still here, appreciate it very much. Subscribe if you haven't already. But let's move on to talking about tomorrow's game. Sorry, Pice. For once, I will actually not bring up your info tweet. We'll bring up Charlie's because he included even more people in it than you did. And I thought he lined it up so nicely graphically. By the way, follow Charlie if you hit the 1,000 followers yet.
Yeah, man. I'm on 1650.
Good, there you go. You had a good week, good few weeks. So there you go.
To be
Help
fair,
me
mate,
get to 2,000 followers.
But to be fair, Pice helped me out a bit by retweeting some photos with Bowley and co. So that's done. That's done me
true.
a bit.
That would help. That would help.
That's helped me.
That's what I need. A couple of photos with Bowley. ChatGPT helped me out. But yeah, there you go. Some injury news for you, ladies and gentlemen. Like I told you, some good, some bad. Reece James, who did pull out of the England squad, I think we just absolutely bamboozled him, and he was perfectly fine. But he seems to be in contention for tomorrow. And N'Golo Kante is back. Now, he probably won't start, I assume, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But Graham Potter did confirm that he didn't confirm it, but he said he's very likely to get some minutes on the pitch tomorrow. So that's that. Mason Mount is back, but will not start. Potter has confirmed that as well. Kai Havertz, who did pull out of the international break with Germany early as well with some sort of illness, apparently, but seems to be back fit now. Christian Pulisic apparently came back from international duty with some sort of quite severe cold, so they're assessing it, but he did train today, so might not start if he was suffering from such a severe cold, just because it will affect your stamina quite a lot. But considering he trained today, will probably be in the squad tomorrow, especially when we have Sterling missing anyway. So, like, put a couple of forwards on the bench. And then we've got Thiago Silva, of course, still out, although hopefully he will be back soon. We haven't really gotten any information on that just yet. Wesley Fofana is still out after obviously slightly doing his hamstring before the international break, missing out on his first caps for France. But there is a chance he's back for the Liverpool game on Tuesday. So it's not all bad, And the same kind of goes for Raheem Sterling, who, of course, is still injured from before the international break as well. In general, Price, positive injury news, would you say, even though Fofana, Sterling, Thiago Silva, and of course Aspie. What is wrong with Aspie?
Is Aspie still out with that? Is Aspie still concussed from Southampton?
Wasn't he on crutches? I thought he was on crutches, wasn't he?
Can you talk about what you heard once, Pies? Can you talk about that publicly? I'm not sure if you can.
Yeah, no. One of my followers is in my group chat. And he was at Heathrow Airport, and Aspie was coming out of somewhere, like one of the flights, and he was on crutches apparently. This was a day.
Weird, isn't it?
This was the day before they had that meeting where Graham Potter was like, "We're going to try and win the fucking Champions League." So it was like a week ago.
I was at that, and he wasn't on crutches when he arrived at the stage or walked away from the stage. I don't know.
This guy was insistent that he had crutches, so I don't know.
But like all of it is weird. The idea that he randomly had crutches, but the day after he didn't. But also the idea that if he's still out because of the concussion. I mean, the concussion is over a month ago. How flipping bad would that concussion have had to be? So I have no idea why he's out. But with Reece James being
where the fuck is Mendy?
I think he's just back.
Yeah, no one asked about him.
But like, he's had this broken finger for the longest time.
He's back in training, I know that. So I assume he's just back there. I assume.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had like a little fucking plaster thing around his finger. So
yeah. Fair.
I mean, I'm not sure how often you've paid attention to it, but if you ever see goalies taking their gloves off, I think they don't ever play without some sort of tape or plasters around their fingers, to be honest. But, I mean, I'm sure you all remember Tom Green's little finger, like, pointing in all sorts of directions. Rob Green, yeah. Sorry. But yeah, there we go. Pies, though, in terms of generally pretty good injury news. I mean, I know you're not the biggest fan of Mount, but still better to have the option, even if he can't start. The fact that Kai and Reece are available and not like out for any longer, and obviously Kante being back is all good news, right?
Yeah, I mean, even with Fofana and Sterling, it could just be low-key resting them for Liverpool. So
yeah,
never really know. It doesn't, I know there was a lot of overreaction again today about Fofana, but if he starts against Liverpool, who really cares? Like, we've got options in both positions now.
Yeah, no, I agree. So with that then said, having gone through the team news, let's get into talking about the formation. Now, for the time being, I put it up as the 3-4-3. Someone in the chat a few minutes ago put, please play a back four.
No.
What do we think, boys? Especially having Thiago Silva and Fofana out injured. Do you still advocate for a back three?
Yeah, I'm not having a back four.
First?
Yeah, keep the back three, man. It's going well for us at the moment, so why change it?
Fair. Well, I mean, we obviously bottled it last game, but yeah. Pice, you agree with that as well? Stick to the back three?
I prefer a back four. I want to see a back four, but it probably will be the back three.
Yeah. I mean, how adamant I was about it, but at the moment I'm like, well, I can't be bothered for any more negative shit. So I'm like, if we play a back four and then don't win, I just can't be bothered for it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, just play the back three and,
it's also easier to switch to a 4 from a 3 than the other way around, if necessary in the game.
Yeah, that's probably true. But yeah, I mean, there you go. It's just because I'm not certain and decided enough. The other boys are. We'll stick with the back three on screen. Sorry, whoever you were in the chat, I forgot your name, unfortunately. But yeah, let's get this up on screen. Kepa will be in goal. We all know that. Even whether Mendy is fit or not, Kepa will start. So let's not even get too hung up about that. I saw some people talk about how he was at fault for McTominay's first goal.
I saw that as nonsense.
Yeah,
like it's smashed through his legs. It's smashed through the defender's legs, like pretty close out. You can't do anything about it.
He just took a deflection like a yard or two in front of him. Like, what can he do? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, there you go. But I think, Pies, you said it during the stream, but obviously you just read it somewhere. I don't think you saw it. So, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. Personally, didn't think it was at fault for any of those goals. But yeah, obviously he was against Everton. So, I care about that way more than what he does for Spain, I tell you. But Dharmesh, we're going to start with you. What would be your back three now that we don't have Thiago Silva and Fofana?
Yeah, so Badiashile with my first name. I think he definitely has to play tomorrow, for sure. Then I'd probably go Cucurella.
Where would you put Badiashile then?
I'll probably put Badiashile in the middle, and then Cucurella left centre back, maybe.
Sure.
And then it's a toss up between Chalobah and Koulibaly. For me personally, I'd probably say Koulibaly, just because we need to play this guy into form, man. Like, we definitely know he's going to start against Madrid, and he's going to be playing a lot of our big games. So, yeah, that's personally what I go with the back three if I had to pick.
Yeah, fair enough. I'd be very intrigued how Badiashile works in the middle, but also how he works with Cucurella. So, be interesting. I mean, Pice, would that be the same back three you'd pick, or would you pick Chalobah over any of these three?
I really don't want a back three, man. I really don't. I don't like these options. God, I would. You know what? I'd probably play Badiashile, Koulibaly, and then Chalobah for me personally.
Okay. Fairs. I'll keep this on screen for now. See what Charlie says. Charlie, what do you reckon? What would be your back three?
There's only two options. You either play Chalobah or you play Koulibaly. So you either go Badiashile left, Koulibaly middle, and Chalobah right, or you've got it how we've got it now. Those are the two options basically for the three. Chalobah hasn't really been in favour at all.
You could drop either. Well, I say drop, but you could either not play Cucurella or not play Badiashile. Play the other one with Koulibaly and Chalobah. You could.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, to be honest, mate, if it's a three, I'd probably stick with that. But I'd probably play Koulibaly in the middle and just switch Badiashile to the right.
Well, he's left-footed though, so
yeah. But I think it's better than playing Cucurella there.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. No, it shouldn't be Cucurella out on the right. That's my only issue with it. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't really like Koulibaly in the wide ones.
I just know
on
that,
the right.
But we know that Chalobah's not going to. We know Chalobah's not going to start. Let's be real.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll probably just leave it like that, mate. It would be those three in some form of variation.
Yeah, I do see Pice's point why we should play a back four. I can't even lie. I mean, I know we started with this already, but just because I've been slightly swayed and I would like to get the chat involved. Ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, would you prefer a back three or a back four tomorrow? And you pick, and then if you guys pick a back four, we might go back and change it. But I can't give you forever, so please place your vote at the top. Can't talk in the poll.
One main reason for me to not have the four is because Chilwell's been playing so well recently, and it's been in a three, and I don't think there's any coincidence to that at all.
I hear that. I also am like, in terms of confidence for the players, I mean, the back four just hasn't functioned.
No,
and
it hasn't.
The back three has, even though it didn't in the last game.
What about playing a four and resting Chilwell for Liverpool? What do you think about that?
What? So you
play one game in the whole 2 weeks of international break? I think it'd be fine. Honestly,
I have to win tomorrow as well, man.
Mate, it's certainly an option. It's an option. It could be.
Yeah, I mean, for the time being, and we've only had a couple of votes, but for the time being, the back three is winning with 83%. So let's see if it stays that way. So then I can't really help you anymore, guys, to be honest. I'd probably have to pick this as well, because I'm like, would I really play Chalobah over Badiashile or Koulibaly or Cucurella?
When was the last time Chalobah played as well? Like,
he came on as sub against.
So underrated, man. He
came on as sub against Everton.
Oh,
last time he's better than what did you say?
He's much better than Koulibaly. He's so underrated, man.
But I know obviously Koulibaly had a stinker in the last game at the end, but number one part
better defending, better on the ball. Simple. Koulibaly's only better at the end.
Yeah, I
drastically
do like to
disagree.
see Chalobah start more. Like,
I
but we just know
But
it's
there
not
must
going
be,
to happen.
but there must be a reason he's not starting more because
Well, it's probably
that-
because he flipping leaked all the team news, probably. But but that's a whole different debate. But yeah, I mean, I don't quite agree with Pice there that he's generally just better than Koulibaly.
You would if he played 5 games in a row, trust me.
I mean, maybe, but I do think that Koulibaly, until that mistake late on against Everton, was brilliant for all of the games he played recently. Like, I can't remember him ever not being good in terms of both defensively and passing. So I'm like, and like I say, yes, Koulibaly was mainly at fault for that, alongside Kepa, obviously. But Chalobah also didn't help Koulibaly. So I'm like, I can't really just like, Koulibaly shit now. But even though Chalobah didn't help Koulibaly, kind of put Koulibaly into that position. So, yeah. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. And like, I still understand where Pice coming from. I do still feel we're slightly harsh on Chalobah because he's kind of our best centre-back alongside Thiago Silva until the World Cup. And then he hasn't really seen the light of day since. So that is a bit unfortunate for him. Obviously, part of it is Fofana being injured at the start of the season and now less so. And that's kind of right centre-back competition, I suppose. But now, obviously, the problem is that both Cucurella and Badiashile have done so well as centre-back. So you're like, well, you kind of want to play both. It's harsh to drop either. So it's like, yeah, I'd probably pick this, but I'm really not sure what Potter's going to go for tomorrow. I'm really not sure. But yeah, let's go with this for now. And let's cover the wing-backs. Charlie, would you still stick with Chilwell? Or would you actually potentially go for... now who the flip would you go for now that Cucurella's playing centre-back?
No, mate, I'd stick with Chile. And if God forbid, if we're in a position where we can afford to take him off early and give him a bit of a rest, let's do it. But we're not in a position to be taking the piss here. We have to go with the strongest team we can because we haven't got the points on the table to be taking liberties and resting players. So
Exactly.
we have to go with the strongest lineup we've got.
Exactly. And we need 3 points here. So like,
exactly,
we're more likely to get 3 points tomorrow than we are against Liverpool. So let's get
for sure. We need all the points we can get. So we've got to go with our strongest lineup. So it'll be Chile and James
so
for me.
Disagree with that, Laurenz, by the way. Like, I actually think it's complete opposite.
In terms of we're more likely
I think
to
we
get 3
may
points
more.
against Liverpool.
Yeah, because we do so much better against bigger teams.
So, bro, we haven't
like, look at all our fucking.
We haven't beaten a top 10 team since even halfway through Tuchel's tenure.
Just generally, I think. But just generally, I think we've always been like the occasion. Like, I think just way more likely. But fair enough.
If we haven't beaten a top 10 team in over 12 months, I don't know. I don't remember how long exactly it is. That clearly hasn't applied in the last 12 months, has it? In terms of, the return up for that. I mean, I hope you're right. It's a night game as well, so that might play in our hands a little bit. But yeah, regardless of that, in my opinion, Chilwell has to play both. I don't know who we play next weekend. Is it Wolves?
Yeah, Wolves away next weekend, and that's 3 days before Madrid. So we play Wolves away next Saturday.
So you can talk about resting Chile then, but not tomorrow.
Yeah. No.
Even if we arguably shouldn't against Wolves either, and Chile just needs to fucking deal with it and play every game. But unless we change the back four, this is another kind of point to make for the back four. None of us really find Cucurella particularly capable as a wing-back. Obviously, you have Lewis Hall there, but Potter hasn't even put him in the squad in God knows how many weeks now.
Nah, mate, he's not in the squad.
Needs a loan, Lewis Hall.
Yeah, no, exactly. So therefore, maybe a back four is useful because whenever we don't play Chile, we will probably play a back four. Otherwise, Cucurella is going to be a pointless left wing-back again. But yeah, there you go. Damesh, would you agree with Chile though?
Yeah, 100% played Chilwell. He's been really good for us. It's I don't know what it is. I think his just his technical ability's got so much better. Like some of his crossing into the box, some of his shots as well. Just like I don't know if he's been improving sort of that sort of ability over the sort of his injury period, but I think he's been really good in that respect regarding set pieces, free kicks, and all that. Shooting, passing as well, and yeah, looks fresh, man. Looks strong as ever. So yeah, definitely go with Chilwell, man. And yeah, must win game tomorrow, man.
Fair. I mean, Pice, you hinted at resting Chile, but would you actually do that? And if you would, who would you play there instead?
Well, my personal thing would be a back four, so then Chilwell wouldn't play at all. But if it's a three at the back, I think you kind of have to play Chilwell unless Lewis Hall comes in, because I don't think Cucurella would play there. So Yeah. I will pick Chilwell in this formation, but in my personal team, he wouldn't start tomorrow.
Okay, I hear you. Right side then. Do we pick Reece James after this whole minor issue, or is he one that we keep fresh for Liverpool? I start with you this time, Pice. What would you do with Reece, or would you play Ruben there?
Reece, no, I would start him. I've got a feeling he, I don't know, because James doesn't seem the sort of person who will just get away from the squad, an England squad, and miss out playing for England. But at the same time, I just got a feeling it was more like, as I said, precautionary rest type thing. Maybe he felt a little something, but I think we need him. So yeah, I would play him personally.
It's interesting because I'd be way more tempted to rest him than I am to rest Chile, just because Chile seems to be doing quite well with playing regularly at the moment. And Reece is injured again every 2 weeks. So,
yeah, I see what you mean with Liverpool on Tuesday, to be fair. But
yeah, and then just play him Liverpool and Madrid. Just don't play him any of the weekend games.
Yeah.
No, I'm genuinely thinking that. And because at wingback, at least, Ruben is at least acceptable cover. Like, that's one point against the back four again, because then we don't have an acceptable right back if Reece doesn't play. But right wing back, we have one. That's at least acceptable. So, yeah, but in fact, you go with Reece. Let me ask the other boys. Damesh, what do you think? Would you go with Reece? Would you rather give him a rest and play Ruben? What would you do?
How serious was this Reece injury? I didn't really look much into it. Was it just a precautionary thing?
It wasn't an actual injury.
I think it's just always the same injury that never fully heals, and he just needs more time off for it to fully heal. But we just need him too much to let it fully heal ever.
Right, man needs to get surgery on that hamstring and just get it dealt with.
Yeah, definitely. But
we'll soon see if surgery helps with Kante's hamstring, won't we, sir?
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure Lauren James had similar issues, and she had surgery on her hamstring, and it's fine now. Yeah.
Mate, Lauren James is so good,
mate. Absolute baller. Mate, imagine having
she's so far ahead of all the other female footballers. That
I want to know what's in the James genes, mate, to produce ballers like that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
100%.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I'll probably go.
I've never seen it. Like, she moved, and I don't mean that in any way disrespectfully, like derogatory or sexist or in any way. She moves like a male footballer. And I mean that as the biggest compliment ever.
Mate, Reece said that she's got
uses her body and strength, and the close control dribbling is crazy.
Mate, Reece said that she's got better. It was either better skill or something. One of those words. Better skill or technical ability than some Prem players.
Yeah, no, and it's spot on. Like,
more technique than Werner, to be fair.
Yeah, so to be fair, Manan does. But
not even exaggerating. So true.
Sorry, Werner. I couldn't take a. I couldn't not take it.
It's quite strong as well. Like, some of it, I was watching a game yesterday. Some of her passing and moving, one touch and go and stuff, was really good.
Yeah,
and got skill as well. Which is
not even her though. Just off topic, but the penalties and stuff. Some of the passes, they literally better than our first team. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, I mean, they did play punt it long and park the bus for a lot of this game.
That penalty under pressure was mad. Top bins.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a banger.
It's true. To be fair, James was the only one who missed her pen from Chelsea. So,
that was a poor pen, man.
Yeah. But I knew it. She's exactly like Reece. I'm just sometimes a bit too concerned that they take things a bit not seriously enough. At least they look like that. Maybe they do, and then it just happens. But just blast it. You can clearly blast it. Why don't you blast it? Taking a penalty in women's football is much easier, because if you hit the corner, you're guaranteed to score. If Courtois is in goal, if he guesses the correct corner, even if you go in the corner, there's a chance he saves it. But women's goalies are obviously shorter. So if you hit the corner, you're always going to score. So just go in the corner, man. Anyway, enough about that. Damesh, did you in the end decide for Reece, sorry?
Oh, I'm still thinking about it, bro, because obviously got 1 hour on Liverpool as well, but it's a must-game win tomorrow, so it's an actual dilemma. So, and then given we don't really know how he's coming back after this sort of niggle injury thing, so yeah, I'll probably start him tomorrow, and then I'll definitely take off regardless, take him off after 50, 60 minutes, regardless of the result, just so that we can have him ready for Liverpool. And then at least we got adequate replacement in Ruben there as well. So yeah, I'll probably go Reece James for tomorrow.
Okay. Charlie, would you do the same, or would you keep Reece and try to have him fresh for Liverpool?
No, mate. As I said before, we're not in the position to be taking a piss. So if he's fit to play, he needs to play.
But would that logic still apply on Tuesday, or would you then rest him on Tuesday?
No, logic still applies on Tuesday, mate. We need to play our best team for every game, and he's in our best team. So unless
would you not be scared to get him injured for Madrid again? Because essentially, these games don't matter at all. All that matters is the Champions League.
I mean, I don't think we can say these games don't matter in terms of like.
Okay,
well,
we're still fighting for Europa League. It's true.
Yeah, we're not in terms of we're not fighting for trophies or a title, but we're fighting for pride and to try and play some form of European football next season. So I get why we don't want to rush Reece back, but if he's fit to play and all the medical stuff says that he's fit to play, then we need to play him because we can't, as I said, we can't be kind of taking liberties here by not playing our best team in games we have to win.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fully disagree. My only logic is, okay, he at the moment probably can't play a game every 3 days. Therefore, it's either tomorrow or Tuesday.
But why can't he just play 60 minutes tomorrow?
Yeah,
sure. Maybe he can do that. Yeah, I mean, I would probably have picked Ruben just to I'd play him Tuesday against Liverpool and then again against Madrid and not play him tomorrow and Wolves. Just yeah.
I think if we're going to see
how screwed we are when Reece isn't there. So.
But I think if we're going to see rotation, we're going to see it next weekend at Wolves rather than in these two games. I feel I could be wrong, but that's just the way I see it.
I mean, obviously we don't know quite how fit Reece is, I suppose, but yeah, like you said, if he's fit to play, and if he's not, we'll see anyway. So yeah, it's 3v1 regardless. Let's get to the midfielders. Obviously, I mean, do any of you expect Kante to start? Do you, Charlie?
No chance. The guy's played no football since August. He played 60 minutes in that game at Cobham against Charlton under 21s, whenever that was earlier this week, or maybe it was earlier this week. I actually don't know. Maybe it was a Tuesday or something.
Last weekend, actually, but I don't know.
Fuck knows when it was. A week or so ago. Played about 60 minutes in there. Obviously came through that all right, but he's played no actual proper football since August. So. And the way like Potter and the medical staff have been with players, that's one thing I've actually liked about the approach that's being taken at the moment is that we are being overcautious with players rather than taking risks, which I actually think is a better thing than what we've been doing in the past. So yeah, mate, under no circumstances can Kante be starting tomorrow. No chance. I think for me, the aim is to try and build him up to a point where he can possibly start in the Bernabeu. So if that means 15 minutes tomorrow, if that means half an hour against Liverpool, if that means an hour against Wolves, then we build up like that, then let's roll with that. But I think the aim's got to be to build him up slowly over the next 3 games to give him the best possible chance of starting in the Bernabeu.
Absolutely. I mean, maybe against Wolves he shouldn't be involved at all, to be honest, to get him ready for the Bernabeu.
But maybe.
Yeah, no, there you go. But then if it's not Kante, would you just stick with what we had for the last few games of Enzo and Kovacic?
Yeah, I mean, it's working well. Both scored on international duty. It seems to be the working pivot at the moment. So, yeah, for me, there's no reason to change it. I mean, Ruben, I don't think so enough to come in. Gallagher is not a pivot player. We know that. Doesn't leave us anyone else. I mean, as we just discussed, Kante's not going to start. So that's kind of it. There's a carrier you could mention, but he seems to have fallen out of favour again. Yeah, it makes no sense to change what is working quite well in the middle there with Enzo and Kova.
Yeah, no, there you go. I'd probably agree if I'm honest. I still think these two as a combination lack balance, and I've said this multiple times, but maybe the more and more that they play together, that problem will go away. That is also very much so possible. Pice, I assume you're going to agree on those two, because I assume you're going to agree that Kante tomorrow is clearly too early to start.
Yes, but if I had a prediction, there'll be a change in midfield tomorrow. There'll be one change at least. Both of these two played every game, and I think all of the minutes in international break. Kovacic would have only got back, and maybe Enzo yesterday, maybe. So I think there'll be.
And Enzo had long travel from Argentina as well.
Yeah, I think there'll be at least one change. Not sure who it will be, but I'll be surprised if both start, especially because they're both going to have to start on Tuesday.
It's a shout. Is a fair point. I don't know. I mean, it would have to be Ruben, really, because I mean, Zakaria. I forgot about him. Zakaria.
Chukwuemeka as well.
Chukwuemeka, yeah, I still don't see him as a pivot option personally. I know you do. I just don't. And Potter has never used him there, so until he uses him, I'm not going to see him as that. But obviously, I could be wrong. But yeah, Zakaria channeled his inner Enzo with that absolute wonder assist that he pulled off for Switzerland the other week, or the other day. So that was great. So maybe Zakaria is a shout. Damesh, how do you see it?
Yeah, now that Pizer sort of said that, it's kind of got me thinking. I was going to go with Cover and Enzo, but seeing as they both sort of come back from international break relatively late and stuff, it's kind of got me thinking. Kovacic is our captain, isn't he, right now? So I don't see Potter dropping him if he's our captain at the moment. So I think Cover will play tomorrow. And I think
it wouldn't be dropping him though; it'd be resting him.
I was resting. Sorry, yeah, like resting him for maybe Liverpool. But I personally want to see these two play. But I just got a feeling with what Pizer said, I think Ruben might come in for Enzo possibly, and we'll see Ruben and Cover pivot tomorrow. But obviously this is what we want to do. So I'd go with the same pivot, Cover and Enzo.
Fair play. Yeah, it's, like I said, probably agree. Ruben, Zakaria, don't think it makes much of a difference which one of the two it is. If I'm honest, I just think purely on the basis of age and purely on the basis of having had to deal with quite a few injuries recently, if one was to be rotated out, I'd assume it's more likely to be Cover. But I don't actually remember. I think Argentina's game might be a couple more days ago than the last Croatia game, but I could be wrong on that. So
wasn't it Wednesday, the game, I think, or Thursday? No, it wasn't
Croatia's.
Thursday. I think it was Wednesday. No, Argentina, sorry.
Argentina's. I don't know. I think it might have been Tuesday night onto Wednesday morning. Like, obviously, time difference. But I don't know. But Pies, I'm sorry, let me clarify from you. If you were to pick, would it be those two still, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to the front three then. Damesh, why don't I let you go first on this one? Just again to rattle it down before people get annoyed at our picks potentially. Sterling is not fit and available. Christian Pulisic did train, but Potter did say he came back with quite serious cold. So therefore, I just, on the basis of that, I expect him maybe to be involved if he trained, but I very much doubt. I mean, if you have a cold or had a cold, you probably shouldn't be, doing sports at professional level for over an hour, right? So
Laurenz.
Therefore, logically thinking, I would say maybe come from the bench, otherwise sit it out. So which front three would you then pick with what's remaining?
Just quickly, mate. Must have been that aircon on the way home on the plane for Pulisic.
It must have been.
Yeah, it gets you that, doesn't it?
Yeah, mate, it screws you over. I tell you that. But also, like, the Americans, they should be used to AC, no?
Yeah,
they got AC everywhere. So I don't know about that one. But David, front three, who would you go for?
I'd definitely start Mudryk tomorrow. I think Mudryk has to start tomorrow. We have to build some confidence in this guy, man. I don't know if you guys watched his interview. His interview was quite intriguing, actually. Listen to it even. Sorry.
It was on Sky Sports News UK.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen or watched it. I've only seen quotes of it. I didn't know I could watch or listen
mate,
to it.
You can watch it. If you go on the Football Daily socials, mate, you can watch all the clips on there.
Oh, yeah? All right. I will do that after this. There you go.
Yeah, he's just talking about his life in England and stuff. Yeah. And obviously,
did he come across well?
As well. Sorry, bro, what was that?
Did he come across well in the interview?
No, he just sounds really motivated, to be honest. I think he was talking about what's it called? Criticism from fans. Like, some weeks they praise you, but then some weeks you're the hero or something like that. I can't remember what the quote was exactly, but he was just talking about
Mudryk. That's not how it goes at every club. That's just Chelsea.
Yeah, but he basically mentioned about that. But yeah, I give Mudryk a start tomorrow. Try and build some confidence back in him.
Specific position? Like, would you play him here?
Yeah, I play him on the left. And
Laurenz, I actually posted those tweets if you want to find them.
But was that all of them? Okay, then I've seen all of it already anyway.
No, there was more to it. I think it was a reasonable amount of stuff.
It was a long. There's a thread from Zoria Ladomska, who's the guy who interviewed him.
Okay, yeah. I take a look later. Damesh, continue. Mudryk, and then who would you with?
Joao Felix, and then the donkey up front. That's it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, apparently the team call him donkey, so we can't even have a go at it anymore now.
Bro, you should change from Havertz to donkey,
play this way around, or because Kai hasn't always been up front recently, would you make it play this way?
I'd go with that. How it's sort of been for the past couple of games where Havertz playing in that sort of like inside winger, inside 10 role. But I kind of think about Madueke, but because it's under 21s, I don't know. Like, it was obviously great, the cameo that you played in that game, but I don't know if it warrants a start for us. I'm not sure. I definitely want to see him come up for the bench, but yeah, I think for me, this would be the front
like
three.
He needs to at least come on, at least.
Yeah, and that's the front three I'll probably go with for tomorrow.
First, Pice, let me go to you. What would be your front three? Would it be this? Would you start Madueke? If not Madueke, who else would you throw in there potentially?
I would start. It's difficult because I want to say Felix, Havertz, Madueke, but then Havertz hasn't really been playing up top lately. So, my front three
still, but...
my front three was this, what we got on the screen right now. But Mudryk, man, he needs a lot of coaching. Man, that game against England, yeah, I'm not sure if he's ready to start yet, honestly.
But do you feel Madueke playing under 21s game is therefore more ready?
Madueke is way more ready. He's much more experienced. At least he had a full Europa League campaign. He played over 100 games for PSG. His touches are better.
PSG, not PSG, but yeah.
PSG, yeah, so he's much more, like, he's raw, but he's much more ready, in my opinion.
Okay. So, but would you pick him over Mudryk, or would you stick to Mudryk?
My front three is this, but yeah,
you would be happy if it was Madueke instead of Mudryk.
I would have my concerns if Mudryk started. I hope he does well, but I just don't think he will at the moment.
Okay.
Aubameyang, maybe.
What's the sorry?
Aubameyang.
Yeah,
let's say I doubt it. Although they recently, like they used him for whole PR work. I'm like, the poor guy.
He did a video with Gallagher for Trivago. Yeah,
exactly. I was like, the poor guy. We're not even using him, and now we're forcing him to do.
I want to see him. I just want to see him play. I just want to see what he can do, man. Like,
I don't.
Fair enough if he stinks it up, but at least we know. But it's the fact that we're not knowing whether he's going to.
No, we know he stinks it up. We don't need to see it anymore.
Oh no, as in with these new signings like the Felixes, the Mudryks, and Maduekes with Enzo as well. Like, I just want to see what he's like with them. But yeah, fair enough. He might prove me wrong, but yeah.
I mean, he might do. He might do. I just don't think he's going to get the chance anymore, if I'm honest, bro. Charlie, what will be your front three?
Yeah, this, mate. And I think it's got fluidity in it as well. So those guys can kind of all rotate around because we've seen Havertz obviously play for the middle, Felix as well. Mudryk played for the middle at Leicester. Like that front three gives you fluidity and options to kind of just constantly rotate it as well. I think that could be useful in trying to break a team down. So yeah, that's what I would go with. I think Madueke looked great cameo against France in the 21s, but then England 21s played Croatia at Craven Cottage and he was anonymous. So, you know, it's kind of like I can't really know what I can't really think of the terminology.
We shouldn't start Badiashile then, because Badiashile was captain of that 4-0 defeat.
But what I mean is, like, you know, he did well one week, and then it's that consistency that obviously young players don't have. But by all accounts, I 100% agree. He needs to feature and he needs to play more minutes. But I don't think he's ready to start. I know he's played more senior football than Mudryk, but Mudryk has got a Champions League experience and whatnot. And I just think he needs to play more football. It's kind of as simple as that, really. Like, he's never going to get any better if he's not playing. So we just need to give him opportunities. I think this would be a good opportunity for him. So I'll go with that front three for like fluidity reasons. And I think, to be honest, it's the best we've got available.
So just to add to sort of what on Mudryk really as well, like if he doesn't start tomorrow, I definitely want to see him start against Liverpool. Obviously, that's looking more towards Tuesday and stuff. But I think with that high line that Liverpool play, I think Mudryk could be really handy in that game. Yeah, but just what I mentioned that, to be fair.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously, I mean, his first game for us, that cameo against Liverpool, was still the best he's played. So Liverpool certainly seems to be his thing. Obviously, we'll see again Tuesday if that remains the case, or if it's just Anfield. Yeah, I would probably go with the same. I totally understand where Pice is coming from. Now, I'm not quite sure if I agree with the whole more ready, less ready type thing. I just think a lot of that comes with pressure. I don't think we should be judging any Ukraine games, quite frankly. Number one, it's a friendly. Number two, how often did they play? Number three, it's a war-torn country. So I wouldn't quite look too much into that type of game and that type of thing. And to me, it's just Mudryk seems like the type of player. To me, just whenever I see him play, Whether that's I didn't catch the first half of the England game, so I only saw the second half until he got subbed off. And the few minutes he got for Chelsea recently, to me, he just looks rusty rather than not ready. To me, he just looks rusty and not quite at it. And by my logic, you're most likely to improve that problem by playing. So therefore, I just think he needs to play. And do I think he makes us like it's much worse if he plays instead of Mudryk? No. So therefore, I'm like, if we had I don't know, 2 Joao Felixes flopping about, sure, then don't play Mudryk, because then we have a clearly stronger option right now to play instead. But because I personally, at least, don't see Mudryk is that much stronger, even though Mount will probably come on tomorrow. I don't see him as much stronger. And then with Sterling being out, Pulisic not being fully fit, well, what else do I do? So I'm like, I could be wrong, obviously, but I feel like it's mostly rustiness, and giving the guys a minute is the only way he's going to get over this, personally. And at some point, we will see that he is a very good player. So I hope. So I think. But yeah, so we will have that on screen. Someone says, why isn't Chalobah on the right and Badiashile on the left in their natural positions? Well, because Cucurella and Badiashile have both done well. So we're like, well, play both of them. And then it's like, do you play Chalobah? Do you play Koulibaly? Really? So, that's why, really. But yeah, it is harsh on Chalobah. I understand. At the same time, are we going to sell Badiashile? No. Are we going to sell Cucurella? No. Are we likely going to sell Koulibaly? Probably also no. Are we potentially going to sell Chalobah if we get an offer?
Yes.
100%. So, and if we always claim we should play the players that we're going into the next seasons with, even if one of those is an academy guy, surely that should still apply, no? So therefore, I'm like, if we're not planning to have him here next season, why play him then? Right? I think the same for Ziyech. Like people, I know there's a lot of Ziyech fans that sometimes tune into these streams and they're often fuming at us about being critical or not picking him. But the guy was already in Paris. He doesn't want to be here. We don't want him to be here. It just doesn't, like, there's no point. So, like, why play him? Even if sure he has good attributes, but nothing that's going to come from it. But boys, last thing before we hit the 2-hour mark, which I didn't really want to get to today again, but here we are. Score prediction, boys. I'll start with you, Charlie. What do you reckon? Do you back us to win? Back to winning ways?
No, if I'm being honest. I think it'll be 1-1. That's my honest thoughts on it. But yeah, I was going to go 1-1 because I just think that's what's going to happen, basically.
Fair enough. I mean, I hope you're wrong, but fair enough.
Well, I do as well, mate. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I'm seeing.
There you go. Pice, do you agree with Charlie, or would you go for something different?
I'm going to go 2-1 to us tomorrow. I think we'll edge it out. Yeah, 2-1.
Very good. Damesh, what about you?
Yeah, like I said at the start of the stream, but I'm not that confident for tomorrow, to be honest. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw for tomorrow. Villa really done quite well, to be fair, since sucking Jordan. I think it's a game that we can't really underestimate. So, yeah, as much as I obviously want us to win, I just don't see it tomorrow.
Fairs. I'm going to say... Weirdly, might not really make sense, but I'm going to say 3-1. I don't know, not having Thiago Silva,
you're right.
not having
Honestly.
Fofana. Yeah, there you go.
Honestly,
but like not having Fofana, not having Thiago Silva, that's why I'm not backing the clean sheet. Hence why I said 3-1 rather than like 2-0 or something. So yeah, therefore
Watkins is on form as well for Villa at the moment as well.
I mean, so is Cucurella.
True.
Hey, bro, I'm going to be optimistic until we concede tomorrow. So until then, I'm going to back it, unless we're 2-1 up by then. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still here, I appreciate you very, very much. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tune in tomorrow for our live reaction and player ratings live stream straight after the game. Hit the notification bell button if you haven't already done that to make sure you don't miss the start of that stream. Hit the like button as well, of course, on your way out. Just one click of a button that doesn't cost you any money or any time. And please do me a massive favor. Do follow all of my guests on their socials and on, well, whatever else is linked below. Dalmatia's Twitter, you can obviously see on screen. As you can see with Charlie's, actually. Please do also follow his YouTube channel, The Blues Brothers, linked down in the description. Just click at down in the description. And please do check out Pice's website, which has rebranded from Chelsea FC 365 to londonsfirst.com. Link is down in the description. So check that out. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. And we'll see you next time.